Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Thursday. Feels like a Wednesday, but it's Thursday, September 5th. It is 88 degrees outside. It is a gorgeous day. But if you're in your car or whatever you're doing, you settle in for the next 4 hours because you don't want to miss a minute. You know what happens when you miss a minute of the show? I mean, I hear from people all the time. They say, why didn't you cover this story? And I go, but I did. You just weren't listening at that time. So, the answer, the solution to this is to never turn off your radio, to never be away from the show even 1 minute, because you can miss that one thing that's important.
Even when you're sleeping, keep it on.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to start off today with a little, I don't know, we can call it a 2024 update. I suppose that'd be all right, because it is about the election. But it's just one little element of the election. We will do another 2024 update because there's so much information. You can't squeeze it all into one. And here we go. I don't know. I guess I was unnecessarily worried. I feel like I was worrying and worrying and worrying. I've been talking about it endlessly, but apparently all along I was wrong. And I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, because I thought that there might be a problem with the millions of people who've come into this country illegally, that some of them might try to vote in upcoming elections. And you're not supposed to vote in a national election if you're a non-citizen. Non-citizens, you're not supposed to vote. And so, I was really worried there's going to be a problem. But Karine Jean-Pierre from the White House podium has assured me that there is nothing at all to worry about with regard to that. Here is exactly what she said.
Look, we said it in a statement of an administrative policy. We said this in July. We strongly oppose this Republican stunt, and as fact checkers across the board have made clear, it is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. It's already illegal.
It's already illegal. We have nothing to worry about. I mean, just forget it. Just put it out of your mind, because there is a law on the books that says non-citizens can't vote, and so I guess it just won't happen. That's good to know. I mean, I suppose that we probably, ought to compare that, how that works in other realms. For example, it's illegal for people to drive while intoxicated. Every state has a law that says it's illegal for people to drive while they're drunk. Yet 12.6 million people have been driving and drinking in this country. How about, well, it's illegal to steal a car. In the last year, 83,220 people in America were arrested for stealing cars. So, I don't know what we need to do about this. Here it is, between 12 and, it's illegal for people under the age of 21 to drink. 12.6 million have. So, I guess we need to rethink this. I mean, Karine says nothing to worry about. There's a law in the books. It's not supposed to happen. So, you don't worry your pretty little heads over it. It won't happen at all. But we know that it has been happening. How do we know this? Because in places like Texas, in states in Commonwealth of Virginia, and other states around the country, they have gone back and looked at their voter rolls, and they have found, shocked, stunned, and amazed that we are, that there are illegal aliens. People who are in this country illegally have registered to vote, and a good number of them did vote. Now, they're doing their best to take them off the rolls so that doesn't happen again. But it did happen. And, the left is always telling us, you don't need to worry about this. It's just not a big problem at all. Yeah, we do need to worry about this. Because it happens. This is why Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is trying to tie, apparently, the Republican-led Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act, to a continuing resolution that would fund the government through March. The SAVE Act would amend the 1993 National Voter Registration Act and require documentary proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. That means individuals who cannot prove their citizenship would not end up on voter rolls. Now, it's not that hard to prove your citizenship. It's not that hard at all. In many states now, you have had to do that to get your driver's license. And in many places, if you have a passport, then you have the situation under control. You can't get a passport unless you're an American citizen because you had to prove so. So there's a lot of ways to solve this problem, and I don't know why in the world, it's such an onerous burden that we should do that. So will he do it? I hope he does. But this whole thing that in this line of logic.
Look, we said it in a statement of an administrative policy. We said this in July. We strongly oppose this Republican stunt, and as fact checkers across the board have made clear, it is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. It's already illegal.
It's already illegal. But that's logic, I don't know if she knows this or not. Just a minor point. It's also illegal to come into this country by crossing the river without going through the proper process and filing the paperwork and all of that. That's illegal too, and yet 10 million people have done it. Nevada county officials, according to the Federalist, have been forced now to investigate dirty voter rolls in a recent election integrity effort. A lawsuit has been filed. And by the way, Republicans are filing lawsuits all over the country trying to force those people in charge of the state's election to go through and clean up their rolls. The top election official for swing state Nevada's most populous county relented and finally decided to look into bad addresses on the state voter rolls. While claims of voters residing at strip clubs, bars, and casinos should have raised red flags for Clark County Registrar voter Lorena Portillo, apparently took the threat of a court order to grab her attention. As the Federalist has reported, election integrity watchdog, the Public Interest Legal Foundation, investigated bad addresses in the Silver State, individuals in the voter registration database who purportedly live at commercial addresses. Now, they have documented hundreds of questionable addresses on the rolls, including vacant lots, fast food restaurants, gas stations, tattoo parlors, and a funeral home. Oh, that's rich. They have captured on camera employees and business owners confirming that the individuals listed as residing at the commercial address, in fact, did not. All 15 Arizona counties have been sued for failing to remove illegal aliens from the voter rolls. The conservative organization America First Legal told counties in July that it would take legal action if they failed to remove illegal immigrants from the voter rolls. But now America First Legal said the counties have failed in their obligation to safeguard the election. We are taking emergency action to secure our elections. In addition to Maricopa, we're now suing 14 additional counties in Arizona for refusing to remove illegal aliens and non-citizens from their voter rolls. America First Legal will do everything in its power to fight mass illegal voting and foreign interference in our democracy. There you go. I'm glad to know that that's going on. And why does this happen? Let's just be honest about it. Democrats want as many people to come into this country as possible. And even though there's a wink, there's a wink and a nut. You can't vote in the election if you're a non-citizen. But that doesn't stop people from trying, as we have found in state after state after state after state. It is happening. And in a very close election, especially, in some of these battleground states, a few hundred votes can change it. It's that tight. Believe me, it's that tight. So, I don't know. This story from the Federalist. Democrats want to keep the U.S. border wide open as an electoral strategy. Of course, that's always been their end game. Their thought is millions of people come in, and if they then find a pathway to citizenship, and if Democrats find a way to control all three bodies, the White House, the House, and the Senate, they will ram something through that gives all these folks a pathway to citizenship. And they believe that since, we let you in, we let you come into this country even, when it was not legal. So, remember your good friends, the Democrats, when you go to cast your ballot. And you will hear the Democrats squeal. You will hear the Democrats cry. You will hear the Democrats talking about, how in the world can we allow this to happen? And I promise you that, you just have to ask them one question. You keep saying it's illegal, therefore it's not a problem. People wouldn't dare violate the law. We know that. I mean, to challenge that assumption, just get out on I-40 any day and notice how many people are out there doing their very best to stay under the speed limit. Not. So, we know people violate the law, and people have already violated the law by coming to this country. There's no doubt about that. But if it's not a problem, then answer this reverse question for me. Then why do you object? If it's not something that happens and it's not an issue, then why do you so vehemently object to somebody passing a law that says you have to prove who you say you are and you have to prove that you're a citizen? I don't think that's that difficult. Who knows? Here's a couple of the sort of border-related stories. Cops estimate that up to 75% of Manhattan crimes are committed by illegal immigrants. And all those crimes that have been committed are against the law, but they still apparently took place. Just saying. The Biden-Harris administration is negotiating bus passage through Mexico for migrants using the CBP One Asylum app. They're trying to keep that picture from happening, where people come across the river and have to be, and they have to be greeted by somebody from immigration. They don't like that picture. So it's neater to just have them get on a bus somewhere down in Mexico and drive up to the border and come across all at one time. Just get on the CBP One app and we'll help you work that all out. The government of Mexico's National Institute of Migration announced a new program in a Spanish-language notice issued on Saturday, referring to the initiative as Secure Emerging Mobility Corridor. The two departure cities in southern Mexico will be Villahermosa, Tabasco, and Tapachula in Chiapas. The Mexican government just announced they will start providing bus rides with police and military escorts to illegal immigrants who are now headed to the border. So, but it's not a problem. By the way, should get to this little bit in our 2020-24 update. The Harris campaign has agreed to muted mics in the debate against Trump. So apparently, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign was unable to sway ABC News to change their mind about leaving the mics muted when you weren't speaking. She says, we'll agree to all the rules. After a lot of back and forth, she agrees to the rules for the September 10th debate. So it is on. It will go forward. Both sides now have agreed to the rules that existed. And Kamala Harris, though she tried to get the mics unmuted for reasons I'm not quite clear on, she wanted to get the mics unmuted, but now the mics will remain off when you're not speaking. And she will be there, she says, on the 10th of September. It is 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Oh, the folks at Genesis Diamonds, that's the place to go. One of the things I love about Genesis Diamonds is they're always bringing in new and fresh jewelry and diamonds. You're never going to see the same old choices at Genesis. They're always bringing in fresh cut stones, straight from the world's best diamond cutters, every size you can imagine, including the larger, rarer diamonds, 3, 5, even 10 carats big. Huge. Nobody has a diamond selection that can come anywhere close. And with designer jewelry, they have partnered with all of the top designers from New York and Los Angeles, and they are on the cutting edge when it comes to what is in style, what's hot, what's new, what's different. The stuff you see at Genesis, you won't find anywhere else. That's guaranteed. So it's a constantly moving, constantly changing inventory. There are always new selections. It's another reason why Genesis dominates the jewelry scene in this area, and why people drive for hours or more to be able to to shop at this amazing store. They've got it all. Huge selection, uncompromising quality, unbeatable value, ironclad warranties, white glove, customer service. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes as well. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
There is a crash in Madison right now. It is blocking the right shoulder 65 northbound right after Old Hickory Boulevard. Have a murder in Nashville and one in Rutherford County. Hunter Biden wants to make a deal to avoid potential prison time and embarrassing details on his business dealings. Coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. He's got all the news covered, and there in the control room with the blinky buttons, he's absolutely in control, is Chris Webber. Good to have the old A-team back. That's right.
You might say we're under Brother Chris's thumb.
We are, and you know the thing is, it's like in television they say, never irritate the lighting director.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad.
Because you'll end up with bad lighting, and so you're always very nice to the lighting director. And here in the radio station, you never hack off your producer because he has the ability to just turn you off.
Yeah, all I got to do is push this button right.
And I know, and I'm gone. but don't do that. So and you also need your producer for those moments where you get a little excited, and there has to be the implementation of the dreaded red button. You count on your producer to hit that button. I don't have a button.
Well, you don't have a filter, that's for sure.
That whole story that I was doing about the law, we don't need to worry about the stuff that's happening, with the people coming into this country. It reminded me of that old Steve Martin routine. It said, you can have $1 million and not pay taxes. First get $1 million. And then you say, well, Steve, what do you say when they come and say you haven't paid your taxes? And he said, 2 simple words. I forgot. How many times do we get into trouble because we don't think to say, I forgot?
How many times do we let ourselves get into terrible situations because we don't say, I forgot? Let's say you're on trial for armed robbery. You say to the judge, I forgot armed robbery was illegal.
There you go. It's that simple, apparently.
Not guilty.
My bad.
Oh, yeah, and the judge, okay, thanks. That explains it all. Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things. So the debate is on. There has been some questions about whether or not the debate was going to go forward. And now apparently Kamala has gotten over her concern. Her campaign has now said we adhere to the rules that ABC had initially proposed, and the whole thing is on. And of course, we're going to be doing that big event on September 10th. We're going to be there for a while on September 10th. I'll get there at 3. And I've decided, I made an editorial judgment. I'm not going to try to broadcast from a boat. I know, it would have been great fun.
Yeah,
I have the technology to do it. I'm pretty sure I could pull it off technically. Yeah. But I got to thinking about, why would you get out on the boat and hear the what would you what would you be talking about? And what do you have to say while you're on the water? So I just decided editorially, it doesn't make any sense.
You can pull me in an inner tube and hot chicken.
Well, now getting you on the inner tube behind, I guess it needs to be televised.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, put you in the inner tube, and instead of like Fonzie jumping the shark, you just jump a bucket of hot chicken or something in the inner tube,
and grab one on my way over it.
And actually us trying to do this on the water is sort of like Fonzie jumping the shark, as they say. Yeah, I for the longest time I didn't understand that comment.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Apparently, it has to do with Happy Days and when the show started to go downhill in an episode where apparently Fonzie jumped the shark.
Yeah. I think that was after Ron Howard left and Fonzie kind of became the main character, and then things kind of went down.
All of a sudden he turned into a sissy.
Yeah.
He wasn't beating people up anymore.
But at one point, he apparently jumped a shark. I don't know. And everybody said, well, that. And now, anytime you hear somebody say, well, he really jumped the shark on that one, it means that, well, things are really going downhill.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah. We, on the other hand, have never jumped the shark.
No, sir.
And we are going full strength. It's good. Ken, how you settling in on the new shift?
Dude, I feel great today. I was telling Brother Chris before the show, I said I woke up at 1:35 last night. And prior to yesterday, that meant get up.
And go to work.
I just went right back to sleep.
I know. Wasn't that the greatest feeling?
Oh, it was. However, I did go to bed last night at 9.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still not quite
acclimated to the new time.
Right.
Yeah,
it'll take a little while.
Yeah, it'll take a little while. It does. And, I, on the other hand, have always been sort of an early riser. I normally get up at 6 or 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on this shift, it's amazing how many times I wake up in the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. And I go, wow, what time is it? There's no reason for me to get up, The dogs, the cabana wife gets up at the crack of what. I mean, she gets up before the butt crack of dawn.
Right.
And Dawn gets up before dawn.
Yeah.
And she's out the door and, she never, I don't have to worry about her because she's already gone. So, it's I wake up when I wake up. And I used to get up so early.
Yeah.
But I got real used to not doing it.
I'd meet you here at like 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I know.
I remember you'd come speeding through that gate too, man, when you had that little Mustang or that I thought there's Brother Brian.
Yeah, you didn't ever tell him about me doing donuts in the parking lot.
No, I did not tell him that. No, sir.
All right, time for the news now at 3:30.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Metro Police heavy presence at Pearl Cone High School for a bomb threat investigation. The school has been evacuated. Metro Police also looking for a suspect after Channel 4 says a man was shot multiple times and died. He was just sitting on his porch in the Napier area when that happened. Police in Smyrna say a man was killed in a robbery attempt at the BP gas station on Lowry Street last night around 11 o'clock. Police say 54-year-old Harlan Webb was shot, pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. A juvenile and a man by the name of Rocky Melton are charged with murder in that case. And moments before Hunter Biden was set to go on trial in Los Angeles on tax evasion charges today, his attorneys announced Hunter planned to change his plea. Here's Aaron Katursky.
If this does move toward a plea and avoid a trial, it may be for good reason, even though Hunter Biden has resisted and has pleaded not guilty to these 9 tax charges, 3 of which are felonies and expose him to potential prison time. The trial could have been embarrassing, not just for him, but also for his father, because prosecutors recently, in a decision from the judge, won the right to bring up all sorts of evidence about Hunter Biden's overseas business dealing.
And after months of delays, a hearing in the case of former President Donald Trump's election interference case in Washington, D.C. was held today, but both sides, even the judge, acknowledging it's not going to happen before the upcoming election. Former President Trump wants Elon Musk to head up a new commission if he wins in November. Trump telling the Economic Club in New York today the new commission would conduct a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government to make what he called drastic reforms.
And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. Be interesting. If he has the time, that'd be a good one to do it. But he's agreed to do it.
Trump says the first recommendations would be on his desk 6 months after he takes office. And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. And let me tell you first about the experience I had this morning as a result of them. I get up, first thing I do, I want to step on the scale every morning. I'm beginning my day and find out, where I'm at. And each and every day since I started seeing the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa, the weight goes down, go down. Once again, every day it's a pleasure to step on the scale because I'm losing weight. And you can too. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals. And they are the weight loss management leaders in Wilson County. Call Restoration Wellness Team today at 615-470-8124 or visit their website, and it's a rather long one, but here it is, restorationwellnessmedspa.com to book a consultation today. Now, you're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, who will take great care of you. You can be part of the more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program. Now, weight loss can increase your energy level, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. These are customizable treatment supplement plans, not a one-size-fits-all plan. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or just to improve your overall health, Restoration has a solution for you. Find out about the newest techniques in weight loss management. Just go to the website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
.38 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, Hunter Biden in Los Angeles is supposed to really begin in earnest his tax evasion trial, and threw a big monkey wrench into everything this morning when that wildly, I've told you about this guy. You got to watch Abby Lowell, his attorney. He's a sneaky guy. He gets into the court, gets before the judge and says, we're going to change our plea to not guilty. What? We're going to change our plea to guilty. I'm sorry. We're going to change our plea from not guilty to guilty. And the federal prosecutors went, what? Because they weren't expecting it at all. They were ready to go forward with trial, and near here at the last minute, he said, we'll plead guilty. But it's not a done deal, because what he's trying to do is something called an Alford plea. Now, I don't want to get into all the legal terms here, but an Alford plea is basically, we'll plead guilty, but we don't really mean that we're guilty. We'll plead guilty, and we'll acknowledge that you've got a good case and you could get a conviction, but we don't admit that we were guilty. Well, that's a plea deal, and that has to be worked out with both sides. So to the uninitiated public, it looks like Hunter Biden is saying, I'm willing to say I'm guilty. But he's not really willing to say that he's guilty. You know, he's basically doing what we talked about earlier, the Steve Martin thing.
You say to the judge, I forgot armed robbery was illegal.
Well, no, you say to the judge, I forgot to pay my taxes. And so, he will say that it's because, well, I was on drugs and that's the reason I didn't do it. But you know what? That's a very weak argument. People all the time say, I wasn't in my right mind. It doesn't matter. The law is the law. Because you made bad decisions and weren't in your right mind and you were smoking crack, that's not an excuse for the behavior. And so I don't know what's going to happen. They've been behind closed doors trying to work it out. Abby Lowell we could work this out in a couple of hours. Well, you know what? Quite frankly, I'm not sure that's the case. Now, the judge asked them to meet and see, if anything could be workoutable. As you might imagine, the federal prosecutors felt like they needed to talk to HQ, Department of Justice, to find out, if they would accept a plea bargain in this particular case. And then the judge said, no, you don't have to check with, this is a decision between you and Mr. Abby Lowell. And then they went back in session this afternoon, and the word is that Hunter Biden was put on the stand under oath, and the judge was questioning him pretty sharply about, now you understand that if you plead guilty, that you are foregoing the right to any trial now or forever. And apparently, the word coming back out of the court, we're waiting for more details, was that he completely understood that. A source familiar with Weiss's team tells Fox News, and I got to know some of the producers that are on this. They're good people. They're really sharp. A source familiar with Weiss's team says Biden's attorney and the special counsel team are not talking directly right now, and that the special counsel's team is trying to figure out the next steps while talking internally. The U.S. Department of Justice is also trying to assess how and when it could get involved. Weiss charged Biden, as you know, with 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors concerning $1.4 million in owed taxes that have since been paid. Weiss alleged a pattern by which the president's son did not pay his federal income taxes while also filing false tax returns. In the indictment, Weiss alleged that Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme to not pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes that he owed for tax years 2016 through 2019 from and or about January 17th to all of October 15th of 2020, and to evade the assessment of taxes for the year 2018 when he filed false returns in or about February 2020. I know that's a lot, but I mean, basically he'd been not paying his taxes for a number of years. Weiss said that in furtherance of that scheme, Biden subverted the payroll tax withholding process of his own company, Owasco PC, by withdrawing millions from the company outside of the payroll and tax withholding process that it was designed to perform. He spent millions of dollars on extravagant lifestyle rather than paying his tax bills. In 2018, he stopped paying his outstanding and overdue taxes for the year 2015. This is the second time Biden is on trial this year, stemming from charges out of the Weiss investigation. Now, here's the thing. He was going to be found guilty. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming. But what else was going to happen that nobody really talks about is that Weiss and his team were going to go after Hunter Biden by talking about his many, 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 many business schemes. And, in fact, they were going to introduce evidence that they found on Hunter Biden's laptop. You know, that laptop that initially was discredited because it was Russian disinformation? No, the information on it was so good that the prosecutors were going to use it as part of their case against Hunter Biden. And all of the talk about his business dealings, they would then, my questions might come up about Dad and his involvement in the business. It would all be within the bounds of things that the special prosecutor could ask on a court of law. So the reason that he doesn't want to do it is because he doesn't want to open up that can of worms. He doesn't want to open up the can of worms about what's on that laptop and what kind of things he was doing and tarnish the Biden name even further. So what he's hoping here is he can say, I'm guilty, but not really guilty, and then get a light rap on the knuckles by the judge, and that would be the end of it. Now, there's no guarantee that would happen. There's no guarantee that the judge would go that way. But if you plead guilty the plea was accepted and a deal was cut, then he would never have to really truly admit the guilt, and that's ultimately what he wants to. Well, yeah, we said we were guilty, but we really weren't. I just forgot it was illegal to pay taxes. There you go. Hunter Biden's trial set to officially begin. They were talking a couple of days ago about how this was going to go. And they said that no doubt it was going to get into some of his business dealings and information from the laptop. Due largely to the facts brought forward by whistleblowers, Hunter Biden faces 6 tax-related charges in total, 3 felony, 3 misdemeanor charges. He could face up to, are you ready, 17 years in prison. I think the judge, remember, they were going to let him off scot-free at one point. And all of a sudden, it was the judge who sort of said, well, hold on a minute. Why are you doing that? There's a crime here. And all of a sudden, it started getting more serious for Hunter Biden, and that's when he brought in Abby Lowell. And Abby Lowell, I got to tell you, I've had some personal dealings with Abby Lowell over the years with people who hired him as an attorney. It's a long story. It's nothing really particularly salacious about it, except that I just had to deal with Abby Lowell. He's a hard-nosed guy. Tricky, very tricky lawyer, knows how to play the game, and knows how to, that in trials, there are really 2 courts. There's the court where you're decided whether you're guilty or innocent, and then there's a court of public opinion, and he knows how to work both sides of that court quite well. Part of what's happening today is for the court of public opinion, to protect Dad, to make sure that nothing comes out that's going to embarrass Dad, or we don't go through all the sordid details of his life in a way that will embarrass the family more than they've already been embarrassed by Hunter Biden's activities and his drug use and his use of what do you call it, prostitution, that kind of stuff. All of that stuff would come out, and they don't want that to happen. So now the real question, I think, as we look at this is how is this going to get resolved? Will the Department of Justice cut the deal that allows Hunter Biden to say, yeah, I'm guilty, but I'm not really guilty. I'm not really guilty, just a little, sort of guilty. I'll admit guilt, but I didn't do it. It's a weird thing. You maintain your innocence, even though you admit that all of the evidence shows that you did the thing that you're accused of. I hope that the special counsel's office, after consulting with the Department of Justice, walks in there and says, no, we're going to trial. We do not accept the plea deal. And then he would just have to change his plea to guilty unconditionally. And then, so maybe that's the end of the deal. Maybe what happens is Abby Lowell tries this, it doesn't go anywhere, and then he comes back and says, well, then we'll go ahead and plead guilty and throw ourselves on the mercy of the court. That may be the ultimate end to this thing. One way or the other, I'm glad to see Hunter Biden being held accountable for the things that he's done. But once again, he's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to maintain his innocence while resolving this in something known as an Alford plea. He really did. And if he does that, he will not really have admitted wrongdoing. I don't know about you, but when somebody pleads guilty, I want to know that they're guilty. Not that they're just, I technically said I was guilty, but I don't really mean that I'm guilty. I want to know that the guy understands that he violated the law and that there are consequences for the law. And if he has to go to the Gray Bar Hotel for a little while, I'm okay with that just fine. Again, it's a bunch of gamesmanship on the part of Abby Lowell. It's an attempt to protect Dad. It's an attempt to try to move on now that there's not as much attention on the Biden name and the Biden family, since Hunter Biden, Dad, Joe Biden, is no longer really effectively, as much in the news as he was. So we'll see what happens, but it was a shock this morning when this happened, a big surprise to the prosecutors, an attempt to try to weasel his way out of having to actually accept responsibility for the things that he has done. And I hope the judge And I hope that the special prosecutors won't let him weasel out. He needs to either say, I'm going to go to trial and accept the verdict, or I'm going to plead guilty and with no weaseling. And no saying, I forgot. It was illegal to pay not pay my taxes. We'll watch and see what happens. Could break this afternoon. We're watching it. 50 minutes now past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Interstate closure coming. Metro Police looking for a suspect they say shot a man and then jumped into a white SUV that sped away. Coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrials were down 219 points in the red. S&P was down 16. The NASDAQ up slightly, up 43 points. Mixed board, not particularly a good news today. What's driving the markets and what's on the horizon? Let's check in with John Maxon at Beacon Capital Management for more. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yep, pretty flat market, but for the S&P, third straight day of losing. Really going to be paying attention to tomorrow's jobs report. We got an initial report today that said August layouts had gone up pretty substantially, and a little bit of a sneak peek, the ADP payroll report, which is kind of a preface to the payroll report itself, came out with 99,000 jobs created, much softer than the anticipation of 120,000 jobs. If tomorrow's jobs report, the payroll report, comes in softer than expected, the market's going to expect a more aggressive stance from the Fed in terms of rate cuts throughout the rest of the year. So the market's really on the edge watching that. Really important report to pay attention to that comes out tomorrow morning that the market will have a big reaction to.
All right. Thank you very much, John. We'll check in with you tomorrow to find out how that turns out. Listen, if you need to know about all the things that Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got a couple of crashes causing problems right now. First in Brentwood, 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. You got the right shoulder blocked. And then in Clarksville, 24 westbound just past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard at exit 4. Got a crash there. Heads up, drivers, this weekend. Channel 4 says 24 west is going to be closed from I-40 to I-65 all weekend long. This is the East Loop downtown going westbound. The closure is for resurfacing. All westbound traffic to be detoured to the West Loop to get around the closure starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Weather's going to be nice. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 4 minutes. Right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says the all clear has been given at Pearl Cone High School, where Metro Police investigated a bomb threat this afternoon, made around the time of dismissal, with students still on campus having to be evacuated to the football field, then dismissed shortly after. Nothing was found, but police are investigating that bomb threat. A man is hospitalized after getting shot several times in the Napier area. Police looking for the suspect they say was last seen jumping into a white SUV that sped away. And right as Hunter Biden's tax evasion trial in Los Angeles was set to begin, it was canceled. He's pleading guilty to all counts against him for failing to pay over $1 million in taxes. ABC's Alex Stone reports from Los Angeles, where the guilty plea came.
Wearing a dark suit and thick-rimmed glasses, Hunter Biden spoke clearly. His voice showed little emotion as he addressed Judge Mark Scarsi from his seat at the council table. He occasionally glanced into the gallery where his wife was seated. Biden pleading guilty to all counts in his federal tax case, which puts an end to a trial. After being sworn in, he told the court he understands the consequences of his guilty plea, including up to 15 years in federal prison and a fine of up to $1 million.
Hunter's dad, President Biden, gave his first comments since the mass school shooting in Georgia Wednesday that left 4 dead, several others wounded.
There are too many people who are able to access guns that shouldn't be able to. So let's require safe storage of firearms. I know I have mine locked up.
As Biden speaking at an event in Westby, Wisconsin today. And former President Trump told the Economic Club in New York that if he's elected in November, Elon Musk has agreed to head up a new commission to weed out fraud.
I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now.
Now, Trump says the first recommendations from this commission would be on his desk 6 months after taking office. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is It is 6 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy. We're glad that you're on board for the hour number 2 of The Drive. It is Wilson, it is Weaver, it is Weber together again in the afternoons, and we're glad that you have joined us. We've got a lot of ground to cover. As you know, yesterday during our program and just before our program, there had been a tragic shooting, school shooting over in Georgia. And we have gotten a lot more information has come across since then, and we know a lot more than we did before about the shooter, about his history, and what happened inside the school. But the most troubling part of it all, it seems to me, is that this was somebody that was already on the FBI's radar. They already knew about this individual. They had already had a contact with the individual's father about a year ago. And they were told, we don't have enough to say that he should be banned from school, but we certainly think that the school should be watching this kid quite closely because of some things that happened. Let me give you the background. The suspect's name is Colt Gray. He was 14 when the shooting went down yesterday. As you know, he killed 4 people at Appalachia High. It was 2 teachers, a male and a female math teacher, and 2 students. He was encountered shortly after the shooting began by 2 school resource officers, and he surrendered to them and was taken into custody, will be charged with the 4 murders. But here's the new development. The teen suspected of gunning down 4 people at a Georgia high school Wednesday had been on the FBI's radar since last year when he was investigated by local authorities in connection to online school shooting threats. May of 23, the FBI received several anonymous tips about threats to carry out violence at an unidentified school, with the harrowing post including photos of gun, including, according to a Wednesday night statement from the Bureau's Atlanta field office. So the FBI has admitted this. Jackson County Sheriff's Office identified Gray, then 13, as a possible suspect and interviewed him and his father. Gray's dad told investigators at the time he had hunting guns in the house, but that his son did not have unsupervised access to them, this according to the statement. And at the time, Gray, who was then 13, now 14, denied making the school shooting threats. There was no probable cause to take any further action, but local school officials were alerted to continually monitor Gray, according to their statement. GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation Director Chris Hosey, confirmed that authorities are probing any possible links between the 2023 threats and Wednesday shooting at Appalachia High. This is not recent. This is in the past. We wanted to bring this to your attention because we are pursuing that, working with the FBI on this and any connection to the incident that would be connected to today's incident as well. Hosey also said investigators have been made aware that Gray's family had contact with Children's Services in the area. So here's another take on it. This is from the New York Post, that last story from the New York Post as well. Georgia school shooting suspect Colt Gray, age 14, his aunt says he was begging for help. The first image of accused Georgia shooter Colt Gray has emerged as his aunt said the 14-year-old was, quote, begging for help prior to the shooting. The picture published by 11 Alive News shows a smiling Gray wearing a thick necklace and a red Georgia Bulldogs T-shirt in a yearbook photo from 2022. This would have been about the time he was 12 or 13 years old. His aunt, Annie Brown, told the Washington Post on Thursday that the boy had been begging for help from everyone around him. She said he had been struggling with his mental health prior to the shooting. The adults around him failed, she lamented. She lives in Florida. She declined to elaborate on her nephew's mental health struggles, but said she tried to get him help from a distance. The boy had a troubled home life that exacerbated his issues, she said. So that is someone in the family who is willing to speak, talking about family trouble. We have the officials saying that Family Services had been involved. Here is the Washington Post story in greater detail. Again, Brown said that in January she helped enroll her nephew in Heyman Morris Middle School in Barrow County so he could finish 8th grade following a period of absenteeism. He had just started 9th grade at Appalachie High School this year. Law enforcement authorities have confirmed he was a student at Appalachie. Spokesperson for the school district did not immediately respond to requests for comment on his prior enrollment history. He was interviewed in May of 2023, as we told you, and at the time, Gray expressed concern that someone is accusing him of threatening to shoot up a school, stating he would never say such a thing, not even in a joking manner, according to records of the investigation by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, which had received a tip from the FBI about the threat to open fire in a local middle school. It was flagged, the account was flagged by the FBI. It featured a profile name written in Russian that translated spells out Lanza, referring to Adam Lanza, the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooter, according to the records. The suspect's father, Colin Gray, told investigators at the time he was unfamiliar with Discord, which is the account where the account was filed. Said he had no knowledge of the email address associated with the Discord account. He also said that his son does not know or speak Russian. He told officers he allowed his son to use his hunting rifles when supervised, but the child, who was 13 at the time, did not have unfettered access to them. The weapons were kept in the house, according to the report. There's a real question as to how in the world he got the gun into the school. This is from CNN. They have a TikTok on what went down. The suspect left his Algebra 1 class around 9:45 a.m. His classmate Leah Sarath told CNN. The classroom doors lock automatically, and near the end of the class, the suspect knocked on the door to try to come back in. Another student went to the door, but apparently saw the gun and refused to let him in. That diversion may have saved her life. I think he wanted to come for us first. When that door was closed, the shooter turned to a nearby classroom and opened fire, and she said you hear about 10 to 15 rounds back to back. The first report of an active shooter came in at 10:20. 2 school resource officers and other law enforcement quickly arrived, according to the GBI. One of the school resource officers confronted the shooter, who surrendered and was taken into custody. It is interesting to note, I have some more information about it, that the teachers there have that special ID that they hang around their neck that has buttons on it. And they're electronic. All of our teachers are armed with a form of ID called Syntegix. Smith said Wednesday night, Syntegix alerts law enforcement after buttons are pressed on an ID, and it alerts us there's an active situation at the school, and for whatever reason, that was pressed. This is something we've talked about being available in Tennessee schools, these IDs that are carried by teachers. And what we know is the sooner you can get a law enforcement person on the scene, the better the outcome is likely to be. We know that because of, all of the protocols now are get in there as quickly as you possibly can and engage with the individual. Now, in this particular case, it didn't turn to a shootout. It turned into a surrender situation. But you need to let the law enforcement know as soon as possible. And as soon as apparently police arrived on the scene, he laid down his gun, which was an AR-style rifle. How he got the rifle in the school without anybody seeing it is a real question. But I like the idea of teachers having these special IDs where you push a button and it immediately locks everything down. Immediately, when somebody pushes that button, every classroom is immediately alerted to lock the doors and to go into active shooter mode. And so somebody pushed a button within seconds of the thing starting. And that action triggered everybody locking down. And apparently the shooting that took place in the nearby classroom, it happened so quickly when he was turned away at the first door that he stopped at and they wouldn't let him in. He just turned to the next room and started shooting, and then somebody pushed the button. But by then, there were 4 people dead. It's a very sad situation, of course, there. But big picture, let's stop for a moment and talk about the big picture here. Because how many times now have we heard, the same scenario? The individual was known to us. The individual was somebody that we were watching very closely. The individual was someone that we all were concerned about. And that seems to be the case here. I mean, the questions were raised. FBI and the sheriff's office had a conversation with the parents and with the student. They couldn't quite put the case together, but they alerted the school, keep an eye on this kid. You need to be aware of this kid. And again, the system worked in one way in that the law enforcement was alerted that there's a potential this kid, is troubled. But where's the follow-up? Where is the action on the part of anybody who might have been able to stop this thing if they could have just look, he said he didn't have an email account. Okay, well, prove that to us. Let us look at your computer. Say you're not the one that posted this. No, I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to speak Russian. No, it wasn't me. I would never do that. All right, prove to us that you never do it. Let me see your laptop. They never. It seems like there's an interdiction of some kind. There's an interaction of some kind, but then again, nothing ever seems to be done in these cases. The child was apparently clearly troubled, according to his aunt. There were problems at home, so that the school resource officers were in that house at some time. And again, given the fact that this person was on their radar, they had been alerted to this individual clearly a year before. One wonders what would have happened if stronger interdiction measures had been taken. We hear this all the time. In the situation here in the Covenant School, the individual, the shooter, their parents knew that she wasn't right. They'd been giving the shooter and providing the shooter therapy for some 22 years. And then the situation is, well, how much did the folks at the hospital know? Her therapist, her psychologist, her psychiatrist, her therapist, they all knew about some of these things, and they all knew about her ideations, and yet no action was taken. Again, we have to be, when you hear that somebody, has made a threat, you have to take that seriously, and you have to do something, I would think, to intervene in the situation to make sure this kid is not in a classroom where he can conduct a shootout. And in the case of Audrey Hale, somebody knew that there was a problem. Police were told that, we knew she had homicidal and suicidal ideations, but did they report it to police? No. A breakdown at the Covenant situation, and it would seem to me, even though they came up on the radar screen, a breakdown at this particular case. Every time we have one of these things, we come to find out that, it seems like, there was no surprise. This was the person that everybody thought would do something like this. How do we go about finding those people and getting them the help they need, or to intervene so that they cannot take action? And how do we, that very difficult thing, how do we prove our suspicions? It's a tough one. And I don't know quite what the answer is. But once again, here we have a situation where nobody was surprised it was this particular individual. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. All right, D.T. McCall, been around for more than a century here in Middle Tennessee. They started out as a small family business, and they grew, and it handed down from one generation to the next, and now we have 5 locations that can provide you what you need for your home. Furniture, appliances, you need a mower. Man, I love my mower that I got at D.T. McCall's. It is a zero-turn Cub Cadet, and it's a beast of a machine, and if you get one, I tell you what, I know you'll be thrilled with it. Whatever you need for your home, you're going to find it at DT McCall's. And here's the thing. They're going to give you a price, and it'll be a good price, and then they will never charge you extra for things like delivery, setup, or haul away. The big guys, the big box stores, the ones that have their headquarters in Delaware, they don't play straight with you on that. They give you a price which you think is a pretty good price, and then they add on a bunch of stuff. That's not going to happen at DT McCall's. They're going to treat you honestly and upfront, and you'll be pleased. I was pleased. You would not believe the amount of stuff I have in my house that came from DT McCall's. To find out about their 5 convenient locations, just go to their website, dtmccalls.com.
News flying out just like a fire hose right now. Hunter Biden says he fully understands the risk by changing his not guilty plea today. And there is another major development in the January 6th case against former President Trump. It deals with the timing of the release of evidence. We've got it for you coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Yesterday, we told you that the Department of Justice had brought charges alleging that there were Russians trying to have an interfere in our election. And then there was this weird comment about it being connected somehow to a Middle Tennessee company that was apparently doing some work with them to spread certain messages, is the allegation. Now, the company in question here in Middle Tennessee has not been charged with any wrongdoing. So I want to make sure we're very clear about that. The company that we're talking about here is apparently called Tenet Media, T-E-N-E-T, Tenet Media, and it is a they call themselves an organization that has heterodox personnel, people who apparently espouse rather unorthodox opinions. And and they put stuff on YouTube, and they put stuff out there in social media. And so, the allegation was that the Russians gave this company some $10 million to spread, certain stories that they wanted to put out there, mostly stories that criticized Ukraine instead of Russia for the attack and the war that's going on there. The indictment, unsealed in federal court, did not name the Tennessee company. It did state that the company described itself on its website as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. And the Tennessee-based company Tenet Media has the same message on its home page. And so what to know about Tenet Media? The Tennessean has a very long article and talks about Tenet Media creates and posts conservative content on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Rumble, and X, formerly known as Twitter. The company's commentators identified on its website as talent include names of like Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Dave Rubin, Taylor Hansen, and Matt Christensen. Now, they have come forward and had some things to say. This is deep in the story. Tenet Media did not respond to a message this Tennessean sent it, and I sent a message as well and did not get an answer. However, several Tenet Media commentators released statements on social media stating that they had full editorial control over the content they created that was posted to Tenet Media. Tim Pool said that he and other personalities and commentators on Tenet Media were deceived and are victims. The indictment states the Tennessee company's two founders masked the company's true source of funding when contracting with two commentators, falsely stating its funding came from a private investor named Edward Gregorian, a fictional persona. A year ago, a media startup pitched my company to provide content as an independent contractor. Our lawyer negotiated a standard arm-length deal, which was later terminated. Benny Johnson wrote on a post to X, "We are disturbed by the allegation in today's indictment, which makes clear that myself and other influencers were victims in this alleged scheme." Matt Christensen ended his post on X by writing, "Every word is from me and me alone." Johnson and Poole, in a since-deleted post, incorrectly stated that the indictment was leaked. It was not. A federal judge unsealed the indictment Wednesday. Poole made a new post on Wednesday evening. So, denying any wrongdoing there. And again, there are some who think that, well, you know what, this is quite frankly a big non-story that is meant to diminish the campaign of Donald Trump, because apparently Donald Trump is the favored candidate, you would think, although Putin, when asked about this, said through a translator that he would prefer that it be Kamala Harris.
If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good, and if everything is good, it means that for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she'll refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them. So in the end, it will be the choice of the U.S. people, and we will respect this choice.
Also, must kill moose and squirrel. It is 31 minutes past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We got a mess in traffic right now. Got a crash in Clarksville, 24 westbound, just past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Here in Nashville, the right shoulder is blocked 65 northbound after Rosa Parks. And then in Brentwood, you've got the right lane blocked 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. Antioch, you're in on it. We got a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder 24 eastbound after Harding Place. Full forecast, another traffic update in 5 minutes. As Hunter Biden's tax evasion trial was set to begin in Los Angeles, Alex Stone says the president's son surprised everyone.
Abandoning an attempt by Hunter Biden's attorneys for a plea in which he would not have admitted guilt as 120 potential jurors waited in the courthouse for jury selection to begin, Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to all counts in his federal tax case, putting an end to a trial. Biden telling the judge he understands the consequences of his guilty plea, including up to 15 years in federal prison and a fine of up to $1 million. Biden spoke clearly, showing little emotion as he addressed the judge, admitting his guilt.
Yeah, and as for White House reactions, still no to the question, will President Biden pardon his son? As for one of the cases against former President Trump, evidence in the new January 6th indictment could be released before the election. This according to a schedule set by Judge Tanya Chutkin. This is never-before-seen evidence that could be released before the election, such as grand jury transcripts. Money news, Daria Albinger tells what led to another mixed close.
Was another mixed close for the market, the second in as many days this week. The Dow fell 219 points, the S&P gave up 17, while the Nasdaq rose 43 points. Investors are focused on Friday's employment report, and no doubt about it, the job sector is in an unusual place. If you have a job, you're pretty secure. Layoffs are low, historically speaking, but the pace of hiring has slowed, and landing a job has become a lot harder.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Grace Point Healthcare, known for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient healthcare delivered the old-fashioned way. And that's what you want, isn't it what you want? And listen, you may be thinking about getting your kid back to school and in sports. A lot of kids are now starting to play sports, and Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you're traveling overseas and you need to think about international immunizations, well, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And most importantly, because they will see you the same day or the next day, you don't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. That's modern medicine at your convenience. Affordable, comprehensive, convenient. Located on Main Street. Here's the number, 615-599-6868 to set up your first appointment.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. It is Brian Wilson here in the chair. I want to remind you, and please make a note of it, that we're going to be at Scoreboard Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet for the big debate on Tuesday, September 10th. Tuesday, September 10th. Now, let me just tell you, the last debate was a humdinger. It was something that led. It took a while, but it eventually led to Joe Biden being pushed out of the way, and now we have Kamala Harris. And this is going to be. I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the major inflection points in this election. I mean, what happens in this debate could well determine the outcome, because if indeed the polls are right, and we'll get into that in the next hour, if the polls are right, it's very close. And the polls may not be right, but if they are, it's very close. And there aren't many opportunities for big events to occur that could change the course or direction of the campaign. But I mean, everyone will be watching to see the interaction between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Can she handle herself without notes? Can she handle herself, in a debate with Donald Trump when she has been so bad in anything that is not completely scripted? Those are the big questions of the day. And so what better way to look at this event than to be hanging out with friends who see the world the same way you do at Scoreboard Creek, Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. So I will start the broadcast at 3 p.m. And then throughout the afternoon, we'll be joined at various times. They'll start wandering in. Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy will all be there. And then we'll after we get closer, after we get through the 6 o'clock hour, we will continue to all broadcast together up until the time the debate begins. And so it's going to be a long night. But I mean, what better place to share this event than with your friends from Super Talk 99.7, Scoreboard, Cedar Creek, see 997WTN.com for details, and we hope to see you there. I've already heard from a lot of folks who say we're going to be there, so you might want to come a little early and get your chair, get you some place. It's a pretty big venue. We can handle a lot of people, but still, the last time it was a packed house. It was packed at 4:00. People showed up early and started having adult beverages. So, if you have to endure something like this with an adult beverage, that's the best way.
And to just a blanket answer the question I've seen a few times, there are no tickets required. This is just a come on down sort of event.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang out with me early and then stay late, all right? This story comes from the Tennessee Star, and I've been holding on to it for a day or two. I really haven't talked too much about it. As you know, there was a sort of an FBI, I don't know, you want to call it a raid on Andy Ogles, and they got his phone, and we don't know what it's all about. Legal filings obtained by the Tennessee Star confirm that Representative Andy Ogles, Republican Tennessee 5th Congressional District, is not a target of the Biden-Harris Department of Justice investigation, which prompted the FBI to seize his cell phone after serving a search warrant at his home just one day after he won the Republican Party nomination for re-election. In an emergency motion seeking the return of his phone, attorneys representing Ogles revealed that federal prosecutors previously acknowledged that Ogles is a subject of the investigation but not a target, and said the DOJ's receipt of his property violates the speech and debate clause of the U.S. Constitution. Ogles' attorneys revealed in his emergency motion that prosecutors last week described Congressman Ogles as a subject rather than a target of their investigation. The filing further elaborated that longstanding DOJ policy defines investigative targets as a person to whom the prosecutor has substantial evidence linking him or her to the commission of a crime and who, in the judgment of the prosecutors, is a putative defendant. A subject, by contrast, is merely a person whose conduct is within the scope of the grand jury's investigation. Ogles previously stated his cell phone was seized in connection to his amended campaign finance reports, but told the Tennessee Star on Wednesday that the FBI is now in possession of legislative materials in violation of the speech and debate clause of the U.S. Constitution. I mean, when you take a person's phone and that person is an elected official, you have access not only to the thing that you're seeking, but basically a lot of very sensitive and internal conversations between people that he represents and his office, and I see the concern. I do see the concern. Again, that I'm just reporting what's being reported. We have not heard Andy Ogles come out in any definitive way. He has been pretty easy to reach and pretty easy to, he's been on our station a lot. He makes himself available, but all of a sudden we're not hearing much from Andy Ogles these days. But I would love to have him on the show to find out what he knows about this, what this is all about. And I extend the open invitation that, I would love to have him on, and so, give him a chance to say his piece. Again, the invitation is open and extended. And again, you've got to wonder about this DOJ. This story comes from FoxNews.com, and it is extremely troubling to me. Secret surveillance of congressional staff by the Department of Justice in focus after a whistleblower advocates notch a court win. A federal judge last week ruled in favor of a whistleblower advocacy group that sued the Justice Department to unseal documents related to its secretly obtaining communications about congressional staffers who were tasked with the job of investigating the DOJ. Congress has oversight of all executive branch operations, including the Department of Justice. They write the checks. I mean, they sign off on budgets. They have the right before they do that to know exactly how that money's going to be spent. They have that and that is oversight power is always been held within the legislative branch to look over the actions of the executive branch. Empower oversight whistleblowers and research won a partial victory in a lawsuit it filed in May when a federal court ordered the DOJ now to release documents. The victory on Friday came days after the group filed a second lawsuit to force the Justice Department to unseal additional records. The requested records are likely to show a startling failure by the DOJ to respect the long-established separation of powers in the United States Constitution, the recent Empower Oversight complaint said. These records will show the lengths to which the DOJ went starting in 2016 to secretly surveil various congressional staff members of both political parties who were actively engaged in oversight of the DOJ pursuant to their constitutional authorities. Justice Department subpoenaed Google in 2017. Listen to this. The Justice Department subpoenaed Google in 2017 for records of Google email addresses and Google voice phone numbers. Empower Oversight found that the DOJ scooped up records of multiple Republican and Democrat attorneys for the Senate Judiciary Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, and the Senate Intelligence Committee panels that were engaged in oversight of the department. The Justice Department kept this secret for 6 years through gag orders it obtained in Washington, D.C. federal courts against providers such as Google, according to Empower Oversight. This is a massive separation of powers issue, says Tristan Levitt, president of Empower Oversight. He questioned whether the Justice Department properly informed the court that subpoenas were for congressional lawyers conducting oversight of the department. Empower Oversight founder Jason Foster, as it turns out, is a former senior staffer for Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa. Learned earlier this year that the Justice Department obtained his records through Google. What an invasion of privacy. What an invasion of privacy and totally inappropriate for the executive branch to be, conducting such a wide-ranging probe of the people who have been tasked by Congress. Elected officials in Congress tasked these people to monitor the activities of the DOJ. And instead, the DOJ was monitoring the activities of the people who are supposed to have oversight responsibilities. Wow. Justice Department spokesman told Fox News in an email the department will decline to comment on ongoing legislation. The subpoenas of the Google email and phone records appear to be related to a federal leak investigation of confidential information about the surveillance warrant of Carter Page, a 2016 Trump campaign aide. The leak probe led to the eventual guilty plea of James Wolfe, former security director for the Senate Intelligence Committee, who lied to the FBI about his relationship with a New York Times journalist. I remember that case. So this is the second lawsuit, and people who worked for and may still be working for these various members of the Senate who have oversight responsibilities. I mean, this apparently was a dragnet on the part of the DOJ to go after and study and get information about a whole host of people who are tasked with oversight of executive branch departments, whether it's the Department of Justice or any other department, Homeland Security, etc. Wrong of them to do that, and what a mess this thing has turned out to be. You begin to wonder when you hear stories like this, and we look at the Department of Justice as they're supposed to be responsible for finding justice in situation, and time again, it seems that what happens is that the Department of Justice becomes sort of not the Department of Justice of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States. They're supposed to look out for the rights of the people, and they're supposed to bring us justice. But how does one bring justice when you're acting in such an unethical and what I think is totally inappropriate way? I'll tell you something about this. Chuck Grassley is driving some of this, and Chuck Grassley, as you know, I'm a big fan of Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. He is he's like, when he gets on something, he's like a dog with a bone. He's not going to give it up. He's going to just dig and dig and dig and dig until he gets it, and he's going to find out eventually what happened. He is an incredibly ethical and upstanding guy, and is one of the really good guys in Congress. When it comes, not necessarily a bomb thrower, he's not one to throw out allegations that are ill-conceived or ill-thought out. He's an adult up there on Capitol Hill, and I want to find out more about what the Justice Department was up to. But I mean, what confidence, when things like this happen, what confidence can we as Americans have that our Department of Justice is acting properly when it appears that they are not acting properly at all many, many times, and we catch them at it? Really, it seems that, the Attorney General of the United States is supposed to be the Attorney General for the United States, not the Attorney General of the president who's in office. So we continue to watch that one very closely. And again, these are the kinds of stories that cause an erosion of trust in our government. And, when people say, well, these people out here who don't trust the government, they're just a bunch of conspiracy theorists. You know why? Because so many of the conspiracies turn out to be right. Way inappropriate in this particular case. It is 52 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Hey, if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltzko are two guys that you need to talk to. Known for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices, they can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltzko difference. Now, if you own land, you have land out in the country somewhere, but you're just not doing much with it, why don't you invest in that land? Why don't you build on it with a structure from Stoltzko? Do something with your money. Putting money into real assets by building on your land, that's something you should do. Let Stoltzko build a high-quality custom structure at a reasonable price, and there's a lot of ways you can go. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, just for me. Just go to stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO. Take a look at some of the things they've done for other people, and you'll really get an idea. Maybe you want to put in a barn dominium, a place to live on the weekends. Maybe it can eventually become a retirement home. That's a great idea. Barn dominiums are so cool and very popular. Your pole barn can be used for other things. You can use it as a garage space or as a tool barn. How about an equestrian space? A lot of people into the horsey thing want a place for their horses, and you could build a great one, a good-looking building out there on your land. Maybe you want to turn it into an event space. Maybe you just want to turn it into a place you can hang out on weekends. One way or the other, there's all kinds of, but take advantage of the fact that you have land. Do something with it. Here's the number, 615-622-5992. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The president's son pleads guilty and faces years in prison. Meanwhile, the January 6th election interference case judge made an announcement today. We'll tell you about it at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 57 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, I am a guitar player. I used to think I was a pretty good guitar player. And then I moved to Nashville and found out that I am not a very good guitar player.
Yeah, that's whenever I stopped karaokeing.
Yeah, you don't want to do that
No,
in Middle Tennessee. No, you don't want to do that at all. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there. Brian May of Queen apparently had a stroke.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the good news is he's now saying that it looks like even though he lost control of his arm, he will be able to play the guitar again. It looks like his arm is coming back, which is great news.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, listen, this guy was. Can we just go out with a little Brian May playing the guitar? It's amazing, legendary. I mean, very inventive, very inventive, very musical. So bad news, but good news. He says he'll be able to come back and play the guitar again.
Boy.
58 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock. Hey, listen, a question from the folks at Beacon. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Look, if you're a hardworking American, you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threats of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. Now, there's no cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories and a heads up for an interstate closure this weekend. TDOT's going to close 24 West from 40 to 65 for resurfacing work starting tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Now, this is the East Loop downtown westbound. Starting tomorrow night, they'll detour you to the West Loop to get around the closure, and it's going to be all weekend. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, faces more than a dozen years in prison and a fine of up to $1 million after changing his plea before his tax evasion trial was to start today. Here's Alex Stone.
Wearing a dark suit and thick-rimmed glasses, Hunter Biden spoke clearly, his voice showing little emotion as he addressed Judge Mark Scarzy, pleading guilty to the 9-count tax case against him, saying he understands a sentence. In court initially, it was said 15 years, but later the judge clarified it's actually up to 17 years in federal prison and a fine of up to $1.3 million. Biden pleaded guilty to each count, saying he committed every element of the crime. Sentencing is set for December 16.
New developments in the new January 6th election interference indictment against former President Trump. The judge did not set a trial date during today's hearing, and it will not be before the election. But what can happen before the election, prosecutors could release never-before-seen evidence. Meanwhile, in New York, during an economic speech, Mr. Trump accused Vice President Kamala Harris of weaponizing the Justice Department against political opponents.
She and her party are censoring speech, weaponizing the justice system, and trying to throw their political opponents, me, in jail. And they always have to remember that two can play the game.
Yeah, well, the two are going to debate next week. We get details on that from Rachel Scott.
During a Fox News interview in Battleground, Pennsylvania overnight, Trump brushing off preparing for the debate, questioning Harris's intelligence.
This is a woman who is dangerous. I don't think too smart, but let's see.
Trump insisting he plans to feel it out as the debate goes along. Harris taking a much different approach, hunkering down in the Pittsburgh area to focus on debate prep.
Harris traveling to Pennsylvania today. Meanwhile, the former president told the Economic Club in New York he's going to form a government efficiency commission to conduct financial and performance audits on the entire federal government to go after fraud if he wins in November.
As the first order of business, this commission will develop an action plan to totally eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months.
Trump telling the Economic Club in New York he wants Elon Musk to run the new commission. And Ticketmaster now under investigation in the UK thanks to the recent sale of tickets for the highly anticipated Oasis reunion tour next year. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hour number 3 of the drive now kicking off, man. I'm telling you what, we got a lot on tap this hour. We're going to talk about, Trump's big town hall last night. We're going to talk about the border. And, of course, the new hit sensation in all of radio. At 5:35, it is the all-new and improved Three Amigos segment. And, it is really, there's a lot of buzz.
Need to get that cable replaced. Get rid of that buzzing.
And a 60-cycle hum. That's right, yeah. No, I mean, people are talking about the Three Amigos being back together again on the afternoons, and I just need to say right off the bat, thank you to Dan Mandis. I have mixed emotions about Dan Mandis on this particular topic because, when I left the mornings, I intended to bring the Three Amigos with me. I was going to, set it up in a different way. Clearly, it wouldn't be the same Three Amigos. But Dan Mandis just glommed onto it early because he comes on before me. He took it.
Never said a word.
Never said a word. Never asked me. Never came to me. Never had a discussion about using the Three Amigos thing. He just took it. He just assumed that he could do that. And because he was on before me, I had no choice but to acquiesce.
And you have already done it now. I guess so.
Referencing earlier during the drive. He said, I forgot.
I forgot stealing a segment from my colleague was improper. No, he didn't. But he never asked. I don't even know if it ever occurred to him to ask. And then, when news came around the other day that Ken Weaver was moving to afternoons, and he's going to be part of the afternoon news and part of my program, I said, well, I would like to have the name Three Amigos, but I guess, you're going to continue. He said, no, can't do it. Because we have amigos and amigas.
Yeah.
So we have to give that up. There's no way to get that, quickly off the tongue. So they're going with something else. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be very creative, though.
You're very creative. So he said I could have the Three Amigos back. It's taken me how many years now?
Like 3 years or something?
3 years and change for him to give me back that which was rightfully mine all along. But anyway, the Three Amigos will be coming up at 5:35 today. Another Campaign 24 update because there's a lot of stuff to go through. We couldn't get through it all in one. Here we go. Let's talk about some numbers. I won't spend a lot of time on numbers, but because the numbers are very tight as a tick. General election numbers. Emerson has Harris up by 2 in the general election number. Rasmussen has Trump up by 1. All of this within the margin of error. I do want to point out in Montana, the Senate race there, Sheehy, the Republican, is leading Tester, the Democrat incumbent, by 6 points. Not surprising since Trump carried Montana in the last election by 15 points. It's a very ruby red state. Tester is one of the easy pickups. The other one will be West Virginia. And then we'd be great if we could pick up 1 or 2 more. But my feeling about the United States Senate is pretty good chance the United States Senate becomes Republican. Holding on to the House, I think, is probably going to be the tighter thing. So there is that. And here's another thing. When you look at these numbers and you say, well, it's all within the margin of error. Well, maybe it is, and maybe it's not. The folks at Real Clear Politics do a thing called Quick Take, and I've stolen it from them so you can hear it. Basically, they say you need to understand that in the history of polling, pollsters have always gotten it wrong about Trump in some key states. His support may be much stronger than what the polls reflect.
In 2016 and again in 2020, national and state polls consistently underestimated Trump's support. This was especially true in Wisconsin. In 2016, polls underrated Trump's finish in Wisconsin by a whopping 7.2%. 4 years later, pollsters again missed badly in the Badger State, this time by 6.0%. In Pennsylvania, pollsters underestimated Trump's strength in 2016 by 2.8%, and in Michigan by 3.9%. 4 years later, the RCP average was spot on in Pennsylvania, while polling in Michigan was better but still underestimated Trump's performance by 1.4%. Polls in Arizona and Georgia have been the most accurate over the last 2 cycles, gauging Trump's support within a 0.5 percentage point on average. Nevada is the only battleground state where polls overestimated Trump's support on average. In 2016, final polls showed Trump with a slim lead over Hillary Clinton. She won the state by 2.4 points. In 2020, the polls in Nevada were spot on. If you look at the current RCP averages and apply the average margin by which polls underestimated Trump's support in these states in 2016 and 2020, Trump would move ahead of Harris in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, maintain small leads in Arizona and Georgia, and fall behind Harris in Nevada.
So, I mean, maybe it's much better than the polls present. And all that stuff, that's because there were graphics being flown around. You should go to Real Clear Politics and look at it. You can see it in greater detail. But the bottom line is, if you look at the mistakes pollsters have made in the past, now the question is they're always trying to solve that problem. If in the battleground states of places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, if you get it wrong there, you got to come back and try to figure it out. Some states they were dead on, but in those northern states they tended to underestimate Trump's appeal by significant amounts. So, even though the numbers that we're reading now are tied, if past is prologue, you have to look at the numbers and you say, well, maybe they appear tied, but in reality, maybe he's ahead by, in some cases, as much as 6 points. So, again, we take these numbers with a grain of salt, and I bring you that. You should go to Real Clear Politics and watch that. You'll learn a lot. Let's see. Trump, town hall, last night with Sean Hannity. Talked a lot about fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes. And I've, again, worked on that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a better businessman than I am. Isn't energy, fracking, oil the lifeblood of the world's economy?
So, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania cannot even take a chance because that's the real opinion from her. Now, the whole country would go down the tubes if you didn't do the fossil fuel thing. It just would go. And you can do all sorts of other things, but Germany tried it, and it lasted for about 9 months, and they were going to go down the tubes entirely, and somebody else came in, and I hate to say, they're building a coal plant every single week, and they're building nuclear, and they're doing a lot of things. It's never worked. It never will work. But Pennsylvania can't take a chance that answer is true. But she's been there for 20 years. That's what she's been saying for a long time. And she will do that. There's no chance that she's going to allow it. The election will take place. If she won, you're not going to have any fracking in Pennsylvania. You have 500,000 jobs. Think of that. It's your biggest business. And you get a big majority of your income from fracking, and you have somebody that's not going to allow fracking. She's not going to allow it. You can't take the chance. You have no choice. You've got to vote for me. You've got to vote for me. You got to. Even if you don't like me, no, but even if you don't like me, you can sit there and say, I can't stand that guy, but there's no way I'm going to vote for her. No, you have to have fracking. You're the biggest in the country for this. You have two of the biggest sites in the world. It's a massive business for Pennsylvania, and you can't take a chance. She will not allow fracking. She's not going to, and she's got a lot of other problems, too.
All right, so I want to just say right off the bat, I have been from this platform a little critical sometimes of Donald Trump, not staying on message. That was great. I don't mind him riffing. What I want him to do is to pull it in just a little bit. And what I'm hearing is very encouraging because he seems to have finally found the right amount of personality to inject into these discussions. And I think this is good. Do you want him to be an automaton, a robot? No. Do you want him to just read off the teleprompter? No. But it's sometimes with the riffing he gets into trouble, and this is very good. This is very good. This is the likable Donald Trump. Here he is talking about a government efficiency commission. He says he wants Elon Musk to come on board and to look at the efficiency of government and to make big changes.
I will launch a historic campaign to liberate our economy from crippling regulation. In my first term, I pledged to cut 2 old regulations for every 1 new regulation, and we did much better than that, as I've said. Yet over the past 4 years, Kamala has added $6,300 a year in regulatory costs onto the backs of the typical American family. Think of that. To stop this onslaught at lower prices, I'm pledging today that in my second term, we will eliminate a minimum of 10 old regulations for every one new regulation.
This was at the Economic Club of New York this morning, and that is cool. I like this idea. Get rid of 10 regulations if you're going to add one. It was 2-1 in his previous administration, and he made great groundwork in trying to get rid of some of these stupid regulations that are on the backs of business and cause the businesses to run inefficiently and usurp so much of their equity, their money, just to comply with these stupid regulations when they could be taking that money and investing in the company and growing. So I love the idea of doing away with these regulations. It is one of the insidious ways that Democrats just, suck the life out of the economy.
We'll be able to do that quite easily, actually. And instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them, including making America the world capital for crypto and Bitcoin. At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice, because he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now.
Again, I think that what you're hearing here is not a subdued but a more muted Donald Trump, which is exactly what needed to be done. I mean, I think in the last election, if he had this kind of approach in his messaging, he would have won, no doubt. He came so close that it wouldn't be much. And so I think this is the right approach. If this Donald Trump shows up at the debate, it's going to be really something. And here's one more. Waltz is weird, not us.
There's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy. JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going, but we're not weird guys. We're very solid people that want our country to be great again. I mean, it's very simple.
I'm very encouraged. For a while I wasn't, but now I think he's sort of in the groove. Just exactly where he needs to be. 20 minutes now past the hour. If you have back pain, what it is generally pressure on your nerves. And although we wish there was a pill or a spinal cream that could solve that problem, really, you just have a couple of choices. One of them is surgery. The other is non-surgical, non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute for my back pain, and it has been great. It has helped me so much. It can help you as well, I think. Their state-of-the-art facilities there, they have the high-tech equipment and offer the latest non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they're offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine, which is like spinal decompression for the knee. If you have knee issues, this might really be the thing that solves your problem, could solve it a lot. Here's what you get if you go there as a new patient. You get an exam. They will take x-rays to examine your situation if that is needed. You will have a consultation with the docs, and you'll come up with a plan, and you'll receive your first treatment, and all of that, just $23. And then remember, coming back, half off of the non-surgical procedures. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hunter Biden faces more than a dozen years in prison after changing his plea to tax evasion charges today. Former President Trump outlined some of his economic goals if he wins in November. And here in Nashville, the all clear given after a bomb threat. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I love the way you say Super Talk. Super Talk.
It's a bad habit, man. I got to get out of it.
Talk.
Super Talk.
Talk. You told us this story yesterday. City of Franklin is short of water, apparently.
Yeah.
And so they're now saying, be careful. You can't fill your swimming pool. You can't water your lawn. You can't go out and wash your car or your boat. Well, that's tough on the people of Franklin. But I mean, honestly, it's a serious thing when you realize that you have a situation where your community is short of water.
Yeah.
Water. You got to have water.
Yeah.
That's right. Water. Sons of the Pioneer, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
That's just an excuse to play some old music. You can't wash your sidewalks. You can't wash your driveway. You can't fill up your swimming pool. Well, boy, it's tough for the people of Franklin. You can't water your golf course. What will they do? Dust control or compaction during construction. You can't put water on the dirt when you're building. Well, I mean, this is tough stuff. We don't have that problem in Watertown. We got plenty of water. We got a town named for water.
That's right. It's called Watertown.
It's called Watertown, and we got lots of it here. You can't drink it because it's nasty stuff. But, I mean, other than that, we have plenty. Apparently, we don't have a shortage. Now, you need to be careful. I mean, honestly, the other thing that you're running into right now is they're saying don't be careful with your burning of materials. Because they don't want, everything's dry right now. The drought conditions are causing, and they don't want to fight forest fires and they don't want to fight grass fires. So you need to be very careful about that. I mean, it's a serious thing. I mean, we're making a little light of it, but I mean, really, honestly, you got to wonder, whether or not there's been enough planning. I mean, the Franklin area blown up in recent years. Huge growth in that area. And you have to keep, thinking about, well, do we have the water that we need to support these many people? And again, it's a drought situation. It's unusual. We don't have that very often, but, you have to also think, do we need to make more investment? I mean, I know that this is in Murfreesboro. I don't know what their situation is with water, but a lot of people look at the situation in Murfreesboro. It's blown up, huge. I mean, that's where you live, Can we? And have they made the right decisions for infrastructure? The problem is infrastructure costs money. Yeah. And to get that money, it has to come from the taxpayer, and nobody wants to raise taxes, and I'm not for raising taxes, but you got to find the balance there on growth and in your ability to support it. And I'm wondering, I'm thinking out loud here, I'm wondering if the city of Franklin and the folks there did enough planning. You shouldn't be in a situation where you're out of water. You should have been seeking out additional sources of water, wells and and all kinds of things. So there's a lot of, I think about water a lot since my dad was in the water business. He sold industrial water pumps all over West Texas. And man knows not the worth of water until the well runs dry.
Yes, sir.
Is the old saying.
Especially in West Texas.
Yeah, and boy, no kidding. And it's dry out there right now, believe me. So anyway, take care. Don't do things that you normally would do. When it comes to using water, if you can avoid using water, don't do it. Water. Can we just play that on the way out?
I've already closed it.
Oh, well, dadgummit.
We should get Marty Robbins' version, too, man. That's a good one, too, Marty Robbins.
The Sons of the Pioneer was the group that Roy Rogers sang with.
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Roy Rogers, then it became Roy Rogers and the Sons of the Pioneer.
Those singing cowboys.
All right. Well, we'll call it 30 minutes past the hour. Time for the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Biden's son Hunter faces more than a dozen years in prison and a fine of more than $1 million after changing his plea before his tax evasion trial was supposed to start today in Los Angeles. Here's Alex Stone.
After Hunter Biden admitted to the judge he committed every element of the tax crimes alleged and that he understands he could get up to 17 years in federal prison and have to pay up to $1.3 million in fines, Biden left the courthouse saying nothing to reporters. His attorney, Abby Lowell, said pleading guilty was about protecting the Biden family.
This plea prevents that kind of show trial.
Hunter Biden will be sentenced in December.
And a day after Vice President Harris laid out her economic proposals, former President Trump outlined his. Here's ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
In a speech to the Economic Club of New York, Donald Trump said he'd bring about an economic revival.
I am promising low taxes, low regulations, low energy costs.
Trump said he'd blast through bureaucratic hurdles to increase the domestic energy supply.
My plan will cut energy prices in half or more than that.
Trump also said he'd push to lower the corporate tax rate from 21 to 15%, and he said he'd appoint Elon Musk to lead a new federal commission to eliminate fraudulent payments.
And here in Nashville, there was a bomb threat at Pearl Cone High School just as students were to be dismissed this afternoon. Channel 4 talked to people who live nearby.
I heard over their intercom system, they were basically just lockdown, potential bomb threat, everybody please evacuate to the football field. And everybody kind of got over there, and next thing you know, within within like probably a minute or two. Cops started pulling up and got out. Some were just in normal like cop clothes. Some were more heavily armed.
All the students still on campus there at Pearl Cone were evacuated to the football field. Nothing was found, but law enforcement says the investigation continues. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
There it is. There it is. There it is. 37 minutes now past the hour. Time for the new smash hit segment. New old smash hit segment. The Three Amigos. I'll get it out.
You need to be careful.
I came real close. I said sit. It is the segment where there are no rules and the points don't matter. And the idea here of the Three Amigos is we all get just to find stories that we think are fun and we chew them over. We need a break now and then. It's a good palate cleanser on the day.
Yes, sir.
And so here we go. Now, I was worn out last night by Cabana Wife, who listened to our debut yesterday, our new debut of the segment, and she said, "You talk too much, Wilson. You need to let the other guys talk about." Which I said, "Okay."
Does she call you Wilson?
She calls me Wilson. Yeah. And so she didn't even say honey. She just said, "You talk too much, Wilson." So there we go. So I'm going to let you guys lead today, and I'll just be one of the people who reacts. Everybody will hopefully in the time we have allotted bring a segment. Chris, right. I'll let you start today.
All right.
Well, I hope no one's eating while I present this story because this one's a little bit. Well, no, it's actually a lot of bit. Everybody loves Amazon, right? I mean, we order stuff from Amazon all the time. You order it today, it shows up tomorrow, the next day. It's a great thing. You get accustomed to packages arriving pretty much daily. A lot of households do. I know mine does. This story out of Pueblo, Colorado, it's pretty gross. This guy ordered a package. Some guitar picks. Was it guitar picks? Guitar tuner. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. He orders it, and it shows up. And the next day, he receives another package. He goes, "Well, my package arrived yesterday. I don't know what this is." So he brings it inside, and he said it was kind of dark. It was getting late in the day, and he just opened it up when he got home from work, cut it open, looked in, couldn't tell what was in there, so he stuck his hand in, and then he smelled it. And it was on his hand. He quickly realized that this was not anything he ordered. He says, quote, "There was poop in there." So I was just like, oh, my God, what is going on?
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know. There was no resolution to this story. He did provide contact Amazon, and apparently the tracking number that was on it was the identical one from the package he received the day before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was just an Amazon worker that couldn't make it till break time or what, but apparently someone, took a crap in an Amazon bag and sealed that sucker up.
Well, the good thing about Amazon is, they take every return.
Yeah, that's right. Call them back.
Yeah, I don't know if he returned it or not.
Yeah, no questions asked.
Oh, my goodness.
Man,
just imagine that. I mean, well, first of all, who just sticks their hand
in? Who does
a
thing like that?
Yeah, just
stuck his hand in it.
What's in here?
No.
He says, we haven't had any arguments or issues with anybody recently, so I don't know where this came from.
That's bizarre. All right, Ken Weaver, you got one?
All right, yeah, I got one. I just ran across this about an hour ago, and it's kind of indicative of what's going on in society today. Mainly with Gen Z and millennials.
All right.
Nothing against Gen Zers and millennials. I know quite a few. In fact, a couple of them are my kids. But more people than ever are eating alone at restaurants. According to the booking platform Open Table, online reservations for parties of one at sit-down restaurants increased 8% for the 12 months ending on May 31st. Now, an online survey of 2,000 consumers in June, commissioned by Open Table, found 60% of respondents had dined alone in the past year, including...
Dined alone.
Yeah, dined.
I thought you said died alone.
Goodness. Whew, we don't want that either.
No.
Wonder how you survey those folks. Anyway, this includes 68% of Gen Z and millennial respondents. So what's going on right now is millennials and Gen Z are driving the growth of this solo dining, and a lot of it is because they're just comfortable. I mean, they're not
used to interacting face-to-face with other people anyway.
It doesn't say that in the story, but we kind of know what's going on.
They're just happy to sit there and eat and look at their phones.
Bingo.
That's it.
Exactly. And it kind of corresponds with what's going on socially. A record 30% of Americans live alone. And people are marrying later than ever before, less often than ever. Only 37% of Americans ages 25 to 49 were married with kids. That's down from 67% in 1970.
Wow. Big change.
So, just a lot of younger people are they're going it alone. And I tell you, I've got to say, I think a lot of it is due to what is available online.
Yeah, what's in your phone is more interesting than the human interactions you will have if you were to sit down across the table from somebody. So they're completely happy just talking to their phones. Wow. It doesn't speak well for the future, though. I don't think.
I don't think it does either, man. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that my kids are very social. Now I will have to say, my son, he's fine just going in his room and getting on his Xbox, talking with his friends through, Zooms.
Yeah, right. Online. Yeah.
Online, they see each other, but there's not that physical contact like we're used to growing up. And I agree. It is kind of disturbing. But, how do we come back? I mean, how do you put toothpaste back in the bottle?
The bell is rung, you can't unring it. Once they, everybody started, putting. I mean, the phone is a fascinating thing. The world is available to you right there in your phone. Just tip tap tap, and the next thing you know, you're looking at stuff that you've never seen before, and you're going, "Hey, honey." Now, I mean, a lot of times in my house, it's like, "Hey, did you see this thing? Look at this! Oh my gosh!"
I actually will send a text to my wife who's sitting on the other side of the couch. Something funny that I just saw instead of just showing it to her.
Exactly.
All right. I got one. I want to tell you about the new trend. I'm big on the power nap. I believe in the 20-minute power nap. There's some days, you just start to drag a little bit and if you take that 20-minute nap and set the timer on your phone and then you wake up. But here's a way to get more out of your power nap. Okay. With something known as a nappuccino. Yeah, that's right. Now you might think that caffeine and sleep don't work together.
Right.
But apparently it can if you're just looking for that short nap. So here's the idea. You sit down and you have something that has caffeine in it. Maybe it's a cup of coffee. Maybe it's a 5-hour energy drink. I mean, I sometimes use those. When I'm slack, starting to, lose my energy, I take one of those. But then you drink it and then immediately lay down and take your 20-minute nap. Now, what happens is the caffeine hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah.
And it takes about 20, 30 minutes for that to happen. So you take a 20, 30-minute nap, and then when you wake up, you've not only gotten the benefit of the nap, but also the caffeine is there. It's sort of like a boom, boom. You get like a more out of your nap because the caffeine will be there as you awake refreshed from your little nap.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
You're refreshed and energized.
Yeah. I like that idea.
I think that's a good idea.
A nappuccino.
Do you have a pumpkin nappuccino?
No, I guess you can. But I think that's a pretty good idea. Dan Mandis drinks a lot of coffee. I'm gonna need to make sure we send this to him. Research has shown that energy from both the caffeine and the power nap is more effective for alertness and performance improvement for a couple of hours compared to only drinking caffeine or only taking the nap, one or the other. If you take both of them together, you just get a lot more out of your little afternoon nap.
Man, I became a champion afternoon napper. I don't have to do it anymore, man. This is the first day in 22 years I haven't been dead tired.
Well, I mean, isn't that great? Isn't it wonderful?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, have you adjusted to the new time? Because, I mean, really, it's a radical adjustment when you're used to getting up Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was telling Brother Chris that, I woke up last night at 1:35, which before yesterday meant you just got to get up. Why are you going to try to sleep for 25 more minutes? Mm-hmm. Just get up. But I went right back to sleep. And now when I got home last night, I was tired. Now, I don't know if that was just by habit, but I was tired. And I actually hit the sack. I was probably asleep by 9:30.
Yeah.
But I don't plan to do that tonight.
Okay, well, good.
I'm going to watch shows.
All right. And you come back into the real world.
Years.
That's right. All right, here's one for you. Should your car warn you that you're speeding?
No.
California State Senator Scott Wiener That tells you a lot right there. Introduced a bill to limit speeding earlier this year. He expected some pushback, but the intensity of the response caught the Democrat lawmaker in San Francisco by surprise. It touched a nerve. The day I announced the original version of my bill, one of my very best friends in the world texted me to tell me what a terrible idea it was, and 10 minutes later, his boyfriend texted me to say that thank you for getting my boyfriend to slow down. Your car probably tells you when you're running out of gas, but it might also alert you when you drift out of your lane. Now, California lawmakers want to go a step farther, requiring technology in your car to warn you when you're speeding.
Goodness.
Safety advocates say speed assistant technology can reduce traffic deaths, but critics say California is moving too fast. They're trying to impose their will on the rest of the country. That's what happens. California, they'll insist that something happens, and then car makers have to go along with it because you can't build a car just for California that's different from the car you sell in the rest of America, because there's too many. You have to if they want it and they demand it, it ends up being in everybody's car.
Yeah,
they forced a lot of things on us by doing that, and so I'm okay if it wants like on Waze. I'm on Waze, and it tells me what the speed limit is, and there's a little thing that shows me on those very rare occasions,
of course,
when I exceed the speed limit.
Purely accidental. I mean,
it's very infrequent. I promise you that. But it shows you that. Well, it shows up in red that you're going over the speed limit.
Yeah, a lot of cars have that built in too. It'll show the little speed limit
That doesn't bother me. But I mean, if it's going to beep at me,
right?
Yeah.
Or if it's going to require me to slow down, no way.
Right, like a governor.
Yeah.
Like California wants you to start putting governors on your car.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I could really see the warning thing taking, I could see that being something that happens in the next few years. Because, I mean, it's so close now with the lane departure and all that other stuff. So I could see that happening. But if they get it to where they're saying, okay, it's not going to allow you to exceed the speed limit.
That'll be the next step. It's all incremental with Californians. They start out with one thing and then they put it into, look, I don't want it nagging me. Right. I know that I should put on my seatbelt. I don't need it to ding at me.
Yeah.
And it's ding. Of course, when I'm in Watertown, it's 3 blocks to downtown.
Yeah.
I don't want to get all buckled up to go 3 blocks.
They could use Foghorn Leghorn's voice. I say, son, slow down.
Slow down there, son. Slow down. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't need the dinging.
No.
I know what I should do, and I know I should put on my seatbelt, but I don't want it to be that.
No, I agree with you. I like the way Waze does it. I think that's a good enough way to do it. But
show that you're exceeding the limit, but that's good enough. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're getting into a slippery slope, man, with California coming up with all these quote unquote safety regulations. I mean, because all of that costs more too.
Well, that's right. Anything you add to do to a car is apparently here. And by the way, we need to do a quick Tay-Tay update.
Oh yeah.
There's a rumor floating around that they have a document that says that they're going to break up. I think it was on September 28th.
I heard that.
Yeah, but apparently, there's a document that indicates it's like an agreement between Kelsey and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift that their relationship will end on. And here's what each party will say. It turns out apparently it's fake.
Oh.
So don't get hooked into that. But the other thing is, everybody's wondering, will she show up at the opener in Kansas City to kick off the 2024 NFL season? And the answer, I know that the major Swifties out there are just waiting to find out. She will indeed be there.
Oh, that's tonight.
That's tonight. That's right. It is tonight.
Well, the cameras will be focused in on her, I'm sure.
Yeah, she'll be there. She was at the majority of Kelsey's games last season, including the team's entire run through the playoffs that ended with a Super Bowl victory in Las Vegas. I don't know. Do you think that's real? I think it's sincere.
What, their relationship?
Yeah.
I think it is too. I mean, you can say, well, this was to make money, but do these two really need more money?
No,
they're set.
Yeah, I think when I saw somebody on the sidelines with phone captured her surprising him.
Yeah,
and he didn't know she was coming, or maybe it was the other way around. But one way or the other, they were genuinely excited to see each other.
Yeah,
and you go, well, that seems real. That seems, I look. Taylor Swift, everybody jumps on me every time I talk about Taylor Swift because, well, she's a big lib. Well, yeah, I get that, but it is, I want her to be happy, and if she and Travis can find happiness, then I'm all for it.
Well, her career is going to go right down the tubes though if she's happy. She have nothing else to write a song
She'll have nothing
about.
to write about. That's right. Songs that about happy relationships don't sell.
No.
All right, 52 past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work.
All right, let me talk about the folks over at Busy Bee. Hey, listen, it is fall, and that's more than pumpkin spice lattes and pretty leaves and, pumpkins and that kind of stuff. Maybe you want to take advantage of some of the great offers from Busy Bee that are going on this month. You got plumbing, heating, cooling problems. Well, listen, Busy Bee's the place to go, and they are your Rude Pro partner. Looking for HVAC specials? How about a free Wi-Fi thermostat on qualifying new HVAC systems? Now you can control your HVAC system from anywhere. How about a free whole home air filtration system with the purchase of 2 or more qualifying HVAC systems or a new HVAC system replacement, which starts as low as $68 a month with approved credit? How about plumbing? Busy Bee has a new tankless water heaters as low as $72 a month. Whole home drain repipe replacement as low as $76 a month. A whole home water distribution replacement as low as $85 a month. Or even a whole home water filtration system as low as $39, again, all with approved credit. And remember, a Beehive member is the best way to keep your systems in tip-top shape all year long. So for satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 775-7833, or visit busybeehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
6 o'clock on the dot this Thursday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories and a heads up this weekend. Channel 4 says 24 West is going to be closed from I-40 to I-65 all weekend long. That's the East Loop downtown. This closure is for resurfacing. All westbound traffic to be detoured to the West Loop to get around the closure starting tomorrow night at 8. And right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says the all clear was given at Pearl Cone High School, where Metro Police investigated a bomb threat this afternoon. And a man is hospitalized after getting shot multiple times in the Napier area. Police looking for the suspect last seen jumping into a white SUV that sped away. And right as Hunter Biden's tax evasion trial in Los Angeles was set to begin, Alex Stone says it was canceled.
In a trial that would have been about tax money the prosecutor said was spent on drugs, escorts, and girlfriends, Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, says pleading guilty was about protecting Biden's loved ones to avoid what they call a show trial.
Hunter put his family first today, and it was a brave and loving thing.
In the courtroom, Biden admitted he committed each of the crimes and could face up to 17 years in federal prison. In a statement, he said, like millions of Americans, he failed to pay his taxes on time.
Well, while his son was busy with that, President Biden spoke on Wednesday's school shooting in Georgia that left 4 dead, several others wounded.
There are too many people who are able to access guns that shouldn't be able to. So let's require safe storage of firearms. I know I have mine locked up.
That was before President Biden announced a major project investing in rural electricity at an event in Westby, Wisconsin today. Ticketmaster, already facing scrutiny in the U.S., now under investigation in the U.K. over concert ticket prices.
No maybe about it. Ticketmaster now under investigation in the UK, thanks to the recent sale of tickets for the highly anticipated Oasis reunion tour next year. Fans were hit with dynamic pricing when they tried to buy tickets, meaning when demand goes up, price goes up. Some paid more than double what they were expecting. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority says it's now investigating Ticketmaster's parent company, Live Nation, over the practice. This follows action by the Justice Department in the U.S., which in May sued Live Nation and Ticketmaster, alleging monopolistic practices. Jason Nathanson, ABC News.
And good news for buttery, flaky, and cheesy, garlicky biscuit lovers. After closing hundreds of stores, Red Lobster is poised to emerge from bankruptcy after a judge today approved the seafood chain's reorganization plan and sale to a lender whose owner also owns Crystal's, Logan's Roadhouse, J. Alexander's, Gordon Biersch Brewery Restaurant, several other restaurant brands. Red Lobster now has 544 restaurants in 44 states. They've got 4 in Canada. But you're likely not going to see a return of the endless shrimp on the menu because that's what broke Red Lobster's bank in the first place. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good evening, everyone. 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and I am glad to be with you on this.
Do you have bricks cracking, doors and windows sticking?
What's that?
Cracks in your drywall? USS is here
coming
to help.
from you, isn't it?
It's coming from me.
Cause the soil around your home.
Well, I have to stop that. Wow.
I was like, don't look at me, man. I'm not doing it.
My computer just took over, man. I am so sorry for that. There's nothing like being interrupted right in the middle of your opening hour. I wonder, should we start over again?
You want to?
Yeah, let's start over again.
All right, we'll just try it again.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes past the hour now of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Second time's a charm. I am Brian Wilson. I'm your friend and radio buddy, and we're going to be here all the way till 7 o'clock, and then we're going to hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. So thank you for joining us. We have 88 degrees outside. A very pleasant day. Very nice. So get out there and enjoy this pleasant fall weather that we are experiencing when you get home. But in the meantime, let me bring you some news and information so you'll be on top of what's going on in the world. A shocking event today when Hunter Biden and his attorney decide that, they're getting ready to go to trial. They're beginning the process of jury selection over in Los Angeles on his tax charges. It's not going to go well for Hunter Biden. It's pretty open and shut case, just like the case involving the guns and all of that. That was open and shut. This is going to be another one. Yet he faces as much as 17 years of time in jail. 17 years. And just as they were getting started today, Hunter Biden's attorney said that he wanted to change his plea to not guilty. I'm sorry, to guilty. He changes his plea to guilty. And everybody went, what? Why are you doing that? The federal prosecutor said, it's the first we're hearing about it. We didn't know this was going to happen, Your Honor. So there was an immediate, break in the action. And for a couple hours while the whole thing was discussed, apparently what needed to happen was the federal prosecutors needed to go and talk to the people back at the Department of Justice to find out if this was something that was acceptable. Look, and then when they came back, it was one of these things where the judge swore in Hunter Biden and asked him a series of questions, said, do you understand that you are foregoing a trial? And that you could potentially spend time in prison. Are you aware of the ramifications of what happens if you plead guilty? And apparently he's trying to plead guilty without ever admitting guilt. I know, only in the law. It's something known as an Alford plea. And I don't know who Alfred is, but I'll tell you the story of what an Alford plea is. It's basically saying, yeah, I admit that you've got a pretty good case, and if this goes to trial, I very likely would be found guilty, but I want to maintain my innocence and just get this thing out of the way. All right, it's as if he comes from the Steve Martin School of Business.
Look, we said it in a statement of...
what he says.
You can be a millionaire and never pay taxes. You can have $1 million and never pay taxes. You say, Steve, how can I be a millionaire and never pay taxes? First, get $1 million. Now, you say, Steve, what do I say to the tax man when he comes to my door and says, you have never paid taxes? 2 simple words. 2 simple words in the English language. I forgot.
I mean, it's sort of what he's doing. He's sort of saying, I forgot I was supposed to pay taxes. I mean, basically what his attorneys are claiming, and would claim at trial if it went forward, is that, yeah, he didn't pay his taxes. He eventually paid his taxes, but he didn't pay his taxes. He evaded paying taxes and millions of dollars worth of taxes. But the reason was he was strung out on drugs. Well, I was strung out on drugs. I forgot to pay my taxes. I mean, it doesn't get any crazier than that. So apparently that's what's going on with Hunter Biden. And I don't know. The story that I'm seeing here this afternoon is that that he has changed his plea. And now I don't know exactly how it's going to go forward, but there's a pretty good chance the judge could come back with a ruling that, okay, we accept the plea of guilty, and now here is your fine. Here is your sentence. And as I mentioned, he could do time in the Gray Bar Hotel. He could also be charged, money. He could do both. But certainly, according to the law, he could serve as much as 17 years. Now, why did he do this? Well, I think he did it because it was going to be a pretty sordid trial. I think he did it because they were going to get into things like his behavior, his spending money flagrantly, and then of course the question would be, well, where did all the money come from? And the prosecutors had access to that. You remember that laptop that everybody said was Russian disinformation? Well, they had access to that, and they were going to use some of the stuff they found in there as evidence. And it was gonna get ugly, and then questions would ultimately arise. Well, we're paying so much attention now to Hunter Biden, and remember, Dad was involved in this as well, and Dad's really concerned about his legacy now. That's all he cares about in the last months of his presidency, is not being damaged on the way out. So I think all of these things are at play, and it remains to me to see exactly what's going on. Now, I don't think that the prosecutors have to accept. I mean, if he wants to plead guilty and cut a deal, and what they call an Alford claim, and say, I'm guilty, but I'm not guilty. I don't think the prosecutors have to go along with that, but the judge can accept it, I think, if he just says guilty. So we'll watch that thing more closely. But again, it is the strangest thing in the world that out of the blue, I heard Jonathan Turley, a legal analyst, say, this is virtually unheard of, to have somebody come in and do this without advising the prosecutors in advance that you were going to do it. A very strange situation. I got to tell you, Abby Lowell, the attorney for Hunter Biden, I don't know him personally, but I've had some interactions with Abby Lowell over the years. Not worth mentioning the whole background on it all. Honestly, it's really not. But the bottom line is he understands that in situations like this, there are two courts. There's the court of law, and there's a court of public opinion. And I sort of feel like right now the court of public opinion is what is driving this. He doesn't want all of that stuff that's going to come out in trial to come out. And he knows, they have to share the evidence. So he knows exactly what the prosecutors have, and he knows what likely is to be brought forward. They know that before the trial even starts. So the evidence, was going to be pretty damning for Hunter Biden and for Dad, I think. And so I think they're just hoping that they can throw themselves on the mercy of the court, and the judge will give them a fine. If there's any jail time attached to it, it'll be a minimal amount of jail time, and they're ready to move forward on this. He was going to lose. He was going to lose in a big way. Then the other thing that sort of got in my craw today was this little soundbite from Karine Jean-Pierre. Now, as you know, many people in America, many conservatives are very concerned that there may be people who've come to this country illegally who will try to vote in the coming election. And you know what? The Democrats are always saying, don't worry at all. And that's what Karine Jean-Pierre is saying. There is no reason at all for you to be concerned about. And here's why. I'm sorry. I've got my sound bites mixed up today.
Look, we said it in a statement of an administrative policy. We said this in July. We strongly oppose this Republican stunt. And as fact checkers across the board have made clear, it is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. It's already illegal.
It's already illegal. Well, now I can rest at ease here that there won't be anybody who will actually vote, even though they're not citizens of this country. It won't happen because it's illegal. Well, let's just go through a few things here. I just thought about this. It's illegal to drive on the road at 80 miles an hour. But there's a fair number of people right now on I-40 who are doing just that, if not more. It is illegal for somebody who is not 21 years old to drink alcohol, yet statistics show that on an average year, 12.1 million people between the ages of 12 and 20 have had a drink of alcohol. It's illegal to drive on the road drunk, yet 1 million people have done it. It's also, I just want to point out, illegal to cross the border without going through the proper process, yet millions have done that. What makes you think, Corrine, that people who have already violated the law by coming to this country illegally would stop right there? I mean, right now we've got a lot of crime in America. I read a story that in Manhattan, they believe that 75% of the crimes that are going on are from people who are in this country illegally. In New York City, that's what's causing the crime. I can tell you story after story where that has happened. Here's one from Kenner, Louisiana.
A Kenner kidnapping and rape suspect on the run after investigators say that he held a 13-year-old girl at knife point. Detectives say 23-year-old Diego Rodriguez Salvador here is undocumented, and that's been a part of the challenge when it comes to finding him. WDSU's Brittany Verner has the new disturbing details into what happened and the evidence police hope will help to track him down. Brittany.
Yeah, Randy, the Kenner police chief told us that Rodriguez Salvador kidnapped that 13-year-old girl and then lured her here to this trailer park, took her inside his trailer home before raping her. They say this all happened Tuesday evening, starting in the Veterans Heights subdivision. That's when this man, 23-year-old Diego Rodriguez Salvador, kidnapped that 13-year-old girl in his vehicle, a 2013 white Nissan Altima. Police say he acted like he was taking her to the store, but then the teen noticed him driving in the wrong direction. Detectives say she alerted him, and that's when he pulled out a knife and drove her to this trailer home before forcing himself on her. Kenner police say Rodriguez Salvador is originally from Honduras and has undocumented status in the United States. Police say that's been part of the reason it's been somewhat challenging to find him.
Anybody that uses a knife and overpowers a 13-year-old girl to rape him and then flees, that's a coward.
Here's another one from Knoxville, Tennessee. The person that they're seeking is an illegal alien.
Answers about a weekend attack. Police say they found the victim lying in a bed with a pickaxe embedded in his skull. A witness says that they saw 26-year-old Hainson Hernandez Moran hitting the victim multiple times with the farming tool. Hernandez is charged with second-degree attempted murder. Now, we showed you these pictures of the large police presence at KPD cruisers lined up outside the home where it happened in the 1000 block of Morrell Road. According to the report, Hernandez Moran ran off, but later turned himself in to police at the scene. The victim was transported to UT Medical Center with life-threatening injuries.
Well, anyway, it is a problem, but don't worry because Karine Jean-Pierre says that it's illegal. It's against the law. But apparently they don't have any problem coming into this country and violating our laws. I forgot it was illegal for non-citizens to vote in the coming election. I forgot it was illegal to enter the country illegally. And for Hunter Biden, I forgot it was illegal to evade my taxes. It's the Steve Martin school that Democrats are now following. 20 minutes past the hour. Hey, have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you the thing that you're waiting on will be ready at 4 o'clock and it's not. people are really tired of that kind of stuff. If you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, you should try URFIX. URFIX has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting. URFIX repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. I mean, why would you want to pay for that? At URFIX, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty, plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it is reliable. URFIX, family-owned for 24 years. Call 844-URFIX or visit myurfix.com. That's myurfix.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 25 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, I really enjoyed. I'm sorry that I messed it up. I couldn't find the right button to save my soul today. But I really enjoyed that Steve Martin trip down memory lane with Steve Martin.
He's funny, isn't he?
Yeah. Well,
He is
back
really
in those days, when he was doing stand-up comedy, he was very funny. He and Martin Short are bringing their show to Nashville. Later this month. Oh, yeah, I've got tickets. I'm going.
Ooh.
And a lot of people say, well, Brian, big showbiz people, why are you going to go bother, I don't know the politics, but I suspect they're very different than mine. But that's okay. I mean, I can still appreciate somebody's art, and he's made me laugh so much over the years. I think Steve Martin's hilarious. I think this stuff is just, this doesn't.
How many times do we let ourselves get into terrible situations because we don't say, I forgot? Let's say you're on trial for armed robbery. You say to the judge, I forgot armed robbery was illegal.
And I have a great story. I have a Steve Martin story. I had a close encounter with Steve Martin years ago.
Really?
Yes, and I don't know if I've ever told the story. I was in Odessa, Texas. I was going to the junior college to take a couple of classes so I could get my third-class radio telephone operator's license with broadcast endorsement, which was issued at those days, you had to have a license to be on the air. Wow. And that's gone away a long time ago. That went away. But at the time, you had to take a test. And in Texas, there was only one place you could take the test, and that was in Dallas. You had to go to an office in Dallas and take the test. And if you passed it, and you had to know things like Ohm's Law, and they ask you questions about, well, if you're in a loud area and you need to broadcast, what should you do? The answer is, cup your hand around the microphone. There was all these stuff that you had to answer.
Technical there.
And you had to, show them that you knew how to fill out the log on the transmitter and all of that kind of stuff. That was very, very important to them. Now it's all done automatic. You've never filled out a log, have you?
Not at this station, no. In my
yeah.
previous life I did, but
yeah. So it went away a long time ago. So I went, and I was at the school, taking a few classes. I became friendly with the guy who was in charge of the college radio station and the radio TV department there, and his name was Wally Jackson. And Wally Jackson, he pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, you doing anything tomorrow afternoon?" I said, "No, I don't have anything going on." He said, I want to know if you help me out. We've got this guy coming in we do sort of a series, a fine art series, and we bring in, artists who wouldn't otherwise come to Odessa, Texas, and have them perform. And they brought in the Dave Brubeck Trio. Now, jazz not real big in Odessa, so you're not normally going to see the Dave Brubeck Trio show up. And he said, and we've made a contract with this very funny comedian. He's been on the Tonight Show a couple of times. He's really starting to blow up and become big. A guy named Steve Martin. Have you ever heard of him? I said, no, I've never heard of him. And he said, well, he's going to be here tomorrow, and the show's tomorrow night. So would you mind just hanging around? Don't bug him, but just be there in case he needs something. And, I want somebody to make sure if the guy needs, whatever it is, that, somebody can run at that errand for him. I said, absolutely. He said, got any expenses out of pocket? I'll reimburse you. I said, okay. So I later that afternoon or the next day, I met Steve Martin backstage, poked my head in and said, Mr. Martin, I'm Brian Wilson. I've been told that if you need anything, you just speak up, and I'll be right out here in this other room. Just come tell me what you need, and I may check on you again. But, if there's anything you need, I'm your guy. Yeah. And he was very quiet. Well, thank you very much. Very subdued. Very, very polite and very subdued. Not at all what I expected from a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
And I think my memory serves me right. He wanted some 3x5 cards because he was writing out bits. And he wanted some 3x5 cards, and I went and got him some at the student union, and he wanted a sandwich at some point. And I think that's all I did. I went to the show that night, and I have never laughed so hard in my life. It was the arrow through the head. It was wild and crazy guy. It was the banjo. It was the bunny ears. It was the whole 9 yards in the white suit, the whole 9 yards, just like he was when he came onto the scene. And I didn't know anything about him, but I laughed so hard that the next day my ribs hurt. That I had laughed so hard. So at the end of the thing, I know I'm running over, but at the end of the thing, he does a monologue where he comes out and says, finally tonight, I'd like to thank my audience. And he's walking down into the audience and says, thank you. And he's going to each person pointing to thank you. And then he's in the middle of this big monologue, and then he just runs out the back door. And we thought, well, that's about the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. We thought it was all over. We go outside. He still does another 30 minutes outside.
Wow.
Completely riffing, and whatever happened, A police officer showed up, wanted to know what the crowd was all about. There was a record store next door back in the days when they sold records, and he went over to the record store and harassed all those people for a while. And the crowds just sort of following him around until they finally, he said good night, that's all, and everybody went away. And I got a chance to talk with him briefly at the end, and I got him to do one of those things, that you do for radio people.
Oh yeah.
He said, so he said, here's what he said. He said, "Hi, I'm Steve Martin. And when I'm in Odessa, which is never again, I listen to the Brian Wilson Show."
Oh, that's great.
I think I've still got it in a box somewhere.
Oh, that's really cool.
Isn't that great? Anyway, so I am really looking forward to seeing Steve and Martin Short. It's a very funny show.
Yeah.
And it'll be great. All right, 31 past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 39 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. We're going to be here all the way until 7, and then it's 7 o'clock after the news. Mark Levin, he's here. He will show up and keep you entertained and informed throughout the early evening hours. And I'm telling you, no better guy to do that than Mark Levin. I want to run through a bunch of whole different stories. These are stories that that sort of have been in the news today, and they don't really need a lot of time to explain. But there are new elements to the stories that you may not have heard. Remember, we told you yesterday about the shooting at Appalachia High School. It's about 40 minutes north of Atlanta. A 14-year-old individual shot 4 people and killed them, injured 9. 2 teachers, a couple of math teachers, 1 man, 1 woman, and a couple of students from a math class. We know more now about what happened there, and there is this really shocking development in that this individual, like we often hear in things like this, had been on the radar of law enforcement. In May 2023, according to the New York Post, the FBI received several anonymous tips about threats to carry out violence at an unidentified school, with the harrowing post including photos of guns, according to a Wednesday night statement from the bureau, the FBI's bureau in Atlanta. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office identified Gray, then 13, as a possible suspect and interviewed him and his father. Gray's dad told investigators at the time that he had hunting guns in the house, but his son didn't have unsupervised access to them, according to the statement. And at the time, Gray, then was 13, denied making the school shooting threats. There was no probable cause to take any further action, but local schools were alerted to continue monitoring the individual, according to the statement from the FBI. We wanted to bring it to your attention, said the GBI, because we are pursuing that, working with the FBI on this and any connection to that incident that could be connected to today's incident as well. So something caught them. They identified him as the likely suspect. They couldn't put it together. But, in a situation like that, how many times have we heard this? It seems to be a refrain we hear a lot of. Well, yeah, the guy was on our radar. We knew about him, and we were watching him, but you weren't able to stop him. The guy walked into school with an AR-15. And one wonders, number one, how he got the AR-15. Good question. The second question is, how did he get it into the school without being seen? Or was he seen? There is a story that talks about what happened on the inside, and a student says he was in an Algebra 1 class. He left the class early, and then when you close the door in the classroom, it automatically locks, so you can't come in until the door is opened. And so there was a knock at the door, and one of the students went over to unlock the door just before class was to end, happened to see that the individual was standing in the hallway with a gun, and told everybody to get back. He's got a gun, and didn't open the door. And apparently the individual then turned and went right across the hallway or right to the next door and started shooting up a classroom where the door was open. And fired off, they said, 10 to 15 or 20 rounds. And that's when the 2 math teachers and the 2 students were killed. And then within a few moments, the alert went off. They have a thing there that has been talked about for schools in Tennessee. I think it's a great idea. All of the teachers there carry an ID badge that has buttons on it, panic buttons. And if you push that button, then everybody instantly is told we're in a lockdown. I mean, it goes out immediately over a PA system and on screens. This is not a drill. This is a lockdown. Active shooter drill in effect. Now, it's not a drill. Active shooter protocols in effect. And so that's what kept this thing from getting further out of control, because although one room was attacked, every other room was able to shut the door. They did things like shove desks up against the door, got everybody out of the way. And then, as you know, the school resource officers responded in just a few moments, and the individual surrendered to them. But again, he was on the radar. They knew who he was. They knew he was somebody they should be watching, and yet it still happened. I don't know. Sad thing. CNBC says that the U.S. produced more oil in 2023 than has ever been produced in any year by any country, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Big oil has become more productive as horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, known as fracking, have seen technological breakthroughs. They're able to get at these zones where they know there is oil locked up in the shale, etc., and get at it through fracking in very innovative and new and dramatic ways. So U.S. oil production hit a low of 5 million barrels a day in 2008 before the industry adopted horizontal drilling and fracking techniques. In August of 2024, U.S. oil production hit a record of 13.4 million barrels per day. 13.4 million, from 5 to 13.4 million. Now, again, if Kamala Harris has her way, now she says she's not against fracking, but she has always been against fracking, something that Donald Trump talked about last night in his town hall with Sean Hannity.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes. And I've, again, worked on that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a better businessman than I am. Isn't energy, fracking, oil the lifeblood of the world's economy?
So, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania cannot even take a chance because that's the real opinion from her. Now, the whole country would go down the tubes if you didn't do the fossil fuel thing. It just would go. And you can do all sorts of other things, but you know, Germany tried it, and it lasted for about 9 months, and they were going to go down the tubes entirely, and somebody else came in, and I hate to say, they're building a coal plant every single week, and they're building nuclear, and they're doing a lot of things. It's never worked. It never will work. But Pennsylvania can't take a chance that that answer is true. But she's been there for 20 years. That's what she's been saying for a long time. And she will do that. There's no chance that she's going to allow it. The election will take place. If she won, you're not going to have any fracking in Pennsylvania. You have 500,000 jobs. Think of that. It's your biggest business. And you get a big majority of your income from fracking, and you have somebody that's not going to allow fracking. She's not going to allow it. You can't take the chance. You have no choice. You've got to vote for me. You've got to vote for me. You got to. Even if you don't like me, you know. Yeah. It's no, but even if you don't like me, you can sit there and say, I can't stand that guy, but there's no way I'm going to vote for her. No, you have to have fracking. You know, you're the biggest in the country for this. You have two of the biggest sites in the world. It's a massive business for Pennsylvania, and you can't take a chance. She will not allow fracking. She's not going to, and she's got a lot of other problems, too.
You know, she says that, you know, well, look, my beliefs have not changed. But aren't your policies based on your beliefs? So what if she says that, you know, I said that I'm not against fracking when I said before I was, and I've held that position since whenever. Okay, fine. But then she says immediately, my beliefs have not changed. Well, your opinions and your policies are based on your beliefs, right? So what are we to believe when you say that? I think we should believe that she's going to ban fracking. And, by the way, offshore drilling. What a mess if she tries to do that. Here's this. The Biden-Harris administration has negotiated bus passage through Mexico for the migrants. In other words, you know, they don't want you to see that picture of people coming across the border, crossing the river, and coming through the cracks in the fence. And you know, they want that. That's a picture that's not good for them right now. So you know what they've done? They've gotten with the Mexican government, who I think is you know, helping them out. I think the Mexican government wants to have Harris be the president rather than Trump. Because, you know, Trump went after them with the threat of tariffs and was much more antagonistic toward Mexico, which they needed to be. And so I think the Mexican government is working with them hand in hand. They're now telling people, don't go to the border, come to this city down in the central part of the country and get on a bus, and we'll drive you right to the border. The buses are coming across and as part of regular traffic, and it's all being, organized through the CBP-1 asylum app. So they're telling people you don't have to go to the border. Just, come up here, get in a bus. We'll take you right up there and let you out. And they're met there by the Border Patrol and by ICE. It's all being done. Nothing is stopping at the border. I mean, the flow of migrants across the border is continuing. It's just that you're not seeing it like you used to see it because they're hiding it from you. Thanks, Biden-Harris, cops estimate that up to 75% of Manhattan crimes are committed by illegal immigrants. How about that? 75%. You got a crime problem in New York City and also across the country? Police sources shared with the Post a staggering estimate that as many as 75% of the people they've been arresting in Midtown Manhattan in recent months for crimes like assault, robbery, and domestic violence are migrants. In part of Queens, the figure is more than 60%, sources estimate. On any given day, Big Apple criminal court dockets are packed with asylum seekers who have run afoul of the law. Thank you for that. Interesting story about Parkinson's. A new study adds to a growing body of evidence that Parkinson's disease, long believed to have its origins in the brain, may begin in the gut. Gastrointestinal problems are common in patients with neurodegenerative disorders to the point where a condition known as institutional colon was once thought to afflict those who lived in mental health institutions. In Parkinson's disease, the entire gastrointestinal tract is affected, causing complications such as constipation, drooling, trouble swallowing, and delayed emptying of the stomach. These symptoms often appear up to 2 decades before motor symptoms such as rigidity or tremors start to emerge. Isn't that something? So, Parkinson, every day there's some kind of medical announcement that it just wows us, the things that we're learning. And again, wouldn't it be nice to know 20 years in advance that you're headed down that path, or are there things you might do to head this off? I think this opens up all kinds of queries for modern medicine and science. And then finally, Queen guitarist Brian May had a stroke. Now, I'm a big fan of Queen, especially of Brian May, who may be one of the most inventive and melodic guitarists in rock and roll. I mean, some of the riffs that he came up with are still just as choice now as they were then. We got a little taste of that. He's a physical, what they call it, a physics. No, he's like
some sort of physicist, right?
Physicist, yeah. He's a physicist. He studied physics, and there you go. Well, apparently he had a stroke, and they were very worried because during the stroke he was temporarily unable to use his arm. But he says all's fine. Everything's going to be okay. He's coming out of it.
Good news.
52 past the hour.